ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates? Yes, morons.
Red.
Welcome to Morons Mince Movies. I am your host, Moron, Professor M. Sam Munoz, and I'm here with my M-men, Ublester Peñalosa II,
I don't think
and
it's a superhero name.
Occam, you're a fool, Charles Arturo.
Nice.
And today we are talking about a TV show, X-Men 97,
Yes, we are.
the first season. We're going to go from episode 1 all the way to 10.
Yes.
And folks, I am very excited to talk about this
I brought
show.
my notes
Strap
with me.
yourselves in.
Yes.
I actually wrote notes throughout the episodes, as you guys can kind of see
Jesus.
as
He's
I was
got-
watching. So we'll go through all those as we discuss.
You have an old school notepad.
Yeah, I was actually writing stuff down. It was
Did you
awesome.
fax that to yourself? After
You know
were
what?
done?
I had to send it via Morse code,
Oh man!
and it came
All
out
of my
on
notes
the
are
other
up
side.
All of my notes are up here in
And
my
to
awesome
celebrate,
memory.
I also got a Coca-Cola, a limited edition Wolverine.
sponsored.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys
Coke.
see that.
Yeah, you should have clarified when you texted us that you're bringing Coke for today's recording,
Yes.
because me and Sam had a very wrong
very
understanding.
excited.
Yes.
I'm very sorry to disappoint.
No, but for
I had
real
my
though,
keys ready
that's
and
very
everything.
cool.
So, should we get going quick? Because this is 10 episodes,
This is
and
10
it's
episodes,
gonna.
man. It's a lot
I
to
feel
go
like it's
through.
gonna be a long show here.
Yeah.
today.
Initial thoughts
and
on the whole
and
thing.
we would be remiss to not bring up the original series, because this
Yes.
is a direct sequel to that.
It is.
It's a new series, yes, a creative
It's
team,
a continuation.
but it
of
is
what
literally a continuation.
Yeah.
It is a successor to the original series, and it is within continuity. Everything that happened in seasons 1 through
sort of.
Yes. Yes, Sam. We can argue later.
Yes. There's a lot of questions.
Yes, there's a lot of questions. Bring it. I'm excited. But first off, did you guys watch the original animated series?
Yes, I watched
Yeah.
it. I watched the original anime series when I was a kid. I was very much into it. It was one of my favorite shows when I was a kid. So when I heard that this was happening, I actually thought it was a joke. Noel, our
Really?
producer, sent us via the Instagram.
Did he?
Yeah, he sent us like the trailer or something of the new show that was coming, and I was like, "This isn't real. They're not really. This must be a fan fiction thing or something."
Yeah.
And I kept saying, "Is this real? This is real, right? This is really happening."
Yep.
So I was very excited when they announced this because I did love the original show.
Hell yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So, now, I have a very quick question though. Is were you guys like hardcore fans where you can say back when it aired on TV, you watched every episode and you knew what every season, or you remember watching? Because I only remember back then we didn't have Netflix and streaming, so it was only what you were able to watch on TV when you got home and turned on the TV.
There was a lot of
So-
reruns too, though.
Yeah, there was a lot of reruns, but even then, when I went back and watched a lot of these episodes before this premiered, which
you
I
got a
tried.
chance to. You tried.
I
Okay,
tried.
okay.
But even with
Am I the
recap,
only one that watched it all the way through?
you are.
Okay.
I watched. So I have a whole story about this.
Go for it. We have time. Go for it.
It's gonna be a long ass episode regardless.
Yeah.
So, might as well
We're gonna get to the.
get comfortable, everybody.
Yes. Grab a seat. Grab a cigar. You know.
memory
Make sure you
lane.
like
Put on
and
your
subscribe.
Yeah.
Pajamas.
So I intended to rewatch the entire original series because I thought it's been a long time since I've seen any episode. I did remember some of the big ones, especially a lot from the first and second season, and the Phoenix story and everything like that.
Days
But
of Future Past.
yeah. So a lot of that I remembered, but not like in very good detail. So I started watching it. And I just didn't have the time to get through it. I got to like the first 4 episodes, and I just kind of stopped.
Yeah.
And then the day of our recording was coming closer. We were originally intended to record this like a week or two ago, last week.
Yeah.
And it was getting close, and I was like, "Fuck, I gotta start the new series because I'm not gonna make it."
Yep.
So I watched the entire new season, and after I finished the new season, I was like, my God, honestly, for everybody who has not seen this, well, you should. This is a spoiler review, so you probably have seen this, but maybe you had the same experience as me. As I was watching the new season, there were so many callbacks and references to the old series that if you were not really, had that in your mind, you were like, what the fuck is going on? Why is this happening? Why is it good? And
ratings master?
So
what is this?
after I watched the entire first season, I was like, I don't think I can judge this season correctly if I don't go back and rewatch the original. So I went back and rewatched.
What the fuck?
In like the span of a week, I rewatched I didn't make it all 5 but I rewatched like the 2.5 the first 2 seasons all the way through. I watched like half of the third season, and then
that's like fucking 14 hours of cartoons
because I needed
what
to
the fuck?
I needed to answer all these questions I had in my head, like
you know, the cool thing about YouTube is you can look up recap videos.
I did
it's not the same.
I did do a recap, and it's not the same. It's not the same. I did do a recap.
That's fucking awesome, Sam.
And then
I love that.
And then I rewatched the last 2 episodes of the last season because I needed to really answer a big question I had in my head, which I'll get into later on.
Yes.
And so so I ended up rewatching about like 2.5 seasons of the original in the span of a week, trying to.
So okay, now let me ask you this before we even get into mincing this. Did
and that changed my opinion.
There you go. You answered my question.
So he did text us. And I was ready to fight him.
However,
stab him with adamantium claws.
Even though it answered some of the questions that I had, other questions came to me because like, wait a minute.
How are they mutants?
No, because it didn't. You saying that because you said an important thing. It's a continuation of the original series, but there's some things that they've decided to just like change without explanation.
Yeah, we'll get there.
And I think
to discuss it. Yeah.
Unless you have anything else to say, I think that should take us into the first.
I was just gonna word that what came up that we were discussing how. Whether or not we watched the original,
the original series.
Oh, the terrible segue. I started in February, and I took my time.
Of this year,
and I took my time. I would watch like 3-4 episodes here and there.
That was smart.
And it was the perfect gradual getting without rushing. I had just enough time to catch. There was a time for me towards the end where I was like, "Man, I need to watch 2 episodes today." So, were you watching it during breakfast, during lunch, during dinner? Like, but regardless of that, it was such a perfect leading because everything was so fresh in my mind.
Yep.
The character developments, who they were, what had just happened, the events of season 5, which like Liz picks up like just a few months afterwards.
Yeah.
So it was everything is like is up here, and I loved that.
Before we even, I want to cover a few things that are like story related, which is. How do you guys feel about the fact that they use the same animation style to some extent? Like they just enhanced on it.
They improved on it.
Because I'm very other than Invincible.
So wait, I don't know if by the way, if this is showing up right now,
this is the original.
Will it, Noel?
Now it will.
Okay.
Now that you mentioned it.
What about glowing?
Because you were just talking about the animation. So right now the animation right here is since season 5. That was considerably worse, and there's an explanation for that.
Yes.
Budget cuts. But
I can see that.
But in regards, yes, with the original for the first 4 seasons, yes, it was basically that animation improved upon, and we got so many of the returning voice actors.
We did. I wasn't. I was happy with the voices. I know that they had to bring in newer voice actors to replace maybe some voice actors that have passed away.
Yeah, so
or
actually,
are now
I
being
can
used
answer
for
that real
something
quick.
else.
Actually, so Cyclops, the voice actor, he passed away sadly. So they had a new actor for him.
Wow.
Wolverine,
whoever replaced
he sounds just like him. He sounds just like him. Yeah.
Wolverine, I recognize was a different voice altogether.
Same actor. Same exact.
That's the same actor?
Cal Dodd, yeah.
What the fuck? Why did he change his voice?
So that's something that actually was necessarily an issue, but something that they had to come across and decide. There's some of the voices matured out, so to speak.
Yeah,
of their characters. They kept Cal Dodd obviously as Wolverine. Storm came back as well.
Yeah, that one was the same voice.
Gambit's original voice is now Bishop.
He's now Cable. He's now Cable, and there was a new voice actor for Gambit. Yeah. Rogue is back. And she, this was her first thing back into acting. She took a break for a good while. She actually became a councilwoman in Canada.
Good for her.
This is why you're here, Arturo. You provide all that research, which Uble and I have not done. We keep to the moron tradition.
I'm Googling who is
no
Rogue.
research.
Who is Rogue? Beast came back.
Yeah, that sounded exactly like
Jubilee, the voice actress, she was asked back, but she actually politely declined.
Oh,
and
shit.
asked that instead
Politely.
they find a voice actress of color to represent her.
Oh, nice.
Which
specific,
I
but
thought
okay.
was awesome.
Good for her. Sure.
I got to meet her actually at WonderCon, including the voice of Bishop.
Whoa.
If you guys are listening for whatever reason, thank you. You guys were awesome. It was really cool to talk to you guys and just get into everything regarding X-Men. But the original Jubilee voice actress, she got to voice the older version of her in episode 4, which we'll get to.
Okay. Cool.
And
Way too much trivia for me, man.
I feel like that about covers Magneto's new. And
You're
Morph
a
is
fool,
new.
Charles.
And I think that about covers everything.
So the voice acting, I had no complaints. What about the other? Okay, so I never get the answer. Animation
yes.
wise,
I thought the
love
animation
this animation.
happy
was
that they
much
stayed
better.
with
Shit,
the 2D. They didn't try to enhance it, make it fucking more.
It just fucking worked. It was an enhancement of the original, and it had like these really cool, I feel, anime touches that
Yes.
made everything very superhero-y.
Yes.
And
I got a few
the
touches of
flair. Look at
Invincible.
that. Like as you guys can see right now. That is on the
Yep.
screen, right? Like it was
Now
just
it is.
so fucking
Might be.
badass.
It might be a scene of
I agree. I think
99 X-Men's.
I agree. The animation was a step up, and
100%.
I like that. Especially when you go back and rewatch the original, you see the big difference. It was definite update in terms of the animation.
All right, so
But
we can all agree on that. There was an
let's-
improvement. Voice acting, there was an improvement in animation.
Yeah.
And the story, we'll get there.
Yeah, so
I think that leads
let's
us
get
directly.
it.
Perfect.
No, no,
All right,
Let's
That's
get
out of the
into get into it because I want to get into right from the beginning of like
First
the
thing.
introduction. Hold on, the first thing I want to say is
Okay.
the introduction of the who are the X-Men now, which is
wait, just before that though.
Oh shit!
but there's no previously at the beginning.
There
of
isn't,
this.
but you know what it is?
It's a new intro.
The intro song.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fact that they kept but slightly updated.
Sam was gonna bring that up, I think.
No, he wasn't.
I was
already leaving
I was
it-
gonna bring up the X-Men themselves, but you're right. That's the intro.
Yeah, the
song.
intro came in first.
All right.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
did that make you feel?
I
Did
think
it
another good
tickle your fancies.
good
'Cause it did
update.
mine.
Good update of the original theme. They didn't change it or anything. They just kind of made it a little bit more rocky, a little bit.
Yeah,
They like
they added
remastered
some-
it.
They added
they
some
remastered it
synthesizers.
with some oomph.
Yeah.
They
and it
added
was
some synthesizers, brought Tom Morello in to do the
And-
background. Yeah.
Just across all of the episodes, the title sequences
Keep
kept changing depending on what was the episode was going
Yeah.
about, which was
Yeah.
cool. I like that.
Yeah, and I really like that because it reminded you of back in the day where random things would be happening within the intro. But in this case, it was also what X-Men were featured.
Yes.
Were going to be in
Yeah.
the episode.
Yeah.
So I thought
Or
that
even
was
the
an
little
interesting
touches
touch.
about the story itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To me, it was really nostalgic just hearing everything once again. I watched the first episode with my son. So it was very emotional carrying that forward and having something that meant so much to me as a kid.
I tried to bring my kids into this, but for some reason they weren't into it. They didn't get into
I
the
didn't
X-Men.
even try with mine.
Well, I mean, as we find out, the show is not meant for kids. So
Right.
No,
it
not
was
anymore.
good that
Why?
we stopped, or that I
this
stopped.
is this is a good message for anyone watching this, wondering
This
if
is
they
not
can
for children.
watch this with their 6 and
It's a
7
lot
year
more
olds.
adult, yeah.
This is aimed at the audience that grew up with it. I feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that they did that.
Noel, go back a little bit. Go back. So
Wait,
so now let's talk about the X-Men
Yeah,
itself.
let's talk about
Yeah.
the X-Men. Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
of
have two issues here.
course. Okay.
Right
you went too
away,
far back.
which was like the first thing I thought is Morph. Why the fuck does Morph look this way? And why did they change his look? And I was like, and I kept thinking like that was the first thing. Like,
Yeah.
He
Morph
had a
didn't
human-
look this
yeah.
way. He had a human face,
He
right?
never
Yeah,
looked
he
this
did.
way.
And I was like, what happened?
So that
I'm gonna agree with
that's
you because
actually
I was
touched
kind of
up-
wondering
so, okay,
why.
yeah.
They don't explain it at all.
It's touched upon.
When?
How is
Here.
it touched?
May I? Thank you. Okay.
You
All
may.
So we know that this is roughly 6 to 12 months after the passing of Professor Charles Xavier.
Correct.
In the last
Passing.
season. Yeah, the passing. So we have here Morph, who has now rejoined the X-Men permanently.
Yeah. Oh, he had rejoined the X-Men in the original season.
Yeah, he's
by now.
clearly
in
still
the-
with them.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, he did have a kind of a human face. This is both a reference to the character that he's based on in the comics, Changeling. He's an original character to the cartoon.
Oh, okay.
And he has more this whitish face of like no features. And in addition, we find out in the series we talk about his past with Sinister all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Sinestro.
And he that's
Sinister.
DC.
What?
Sinestro is a villain from Green Lantern.
Sinister.
Mr.
right.
Mr. Sinister, to be
That's
is
exact.
an
right.
X-Men villain.
Continue, Arturo. I want you to explain this.
we see him morph back into the human version of him that we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
To me, that is a clear thing of him choosing to let go of, to leave that face in the past, because it's so associated with all the trauma and all the PTSD with Sinister, and him embracing a new identity. And within this series too, we get to actually see a little bit more of that.
I will say.
But that's a good explanation.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that's a good explanation, and
so
it's just I feel like the show didn't really show that very well. To change his look so
I feel like sorry, Sam, to cut you off. I feel like there's a reason why, and I there were a few scenes throughout the season that made me question Morph's identity, yes, because and I feel
this
like
isn't the same morph.
There's other shows that have touched on this, but not
gender identity.
Yes,
yeah.
Not that it's the same
sexual,
morph or not, which is like if you have the ability to shift your entire makeup into either male or female, like there has to be some question of like, what do I identify as? Because I can shift my entire body mechanism to be female, and I just feel more comfortable that way, or maybe male. And there are some scenes where like he talks to Logan, like he'll shift himself into Jean Grey, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but he says things where it's like
he might have a thing for Wolverine.
Is he saying that just to give comfort, or is he saying that because that's how he feels? Which the only reason why I'm bringing that up is because that might be the explanation as to why he dons this face, which is neither male nor female. It's just like this blank slate.
I just wish there would have been some sort of
I'd say so.
like touch.
I think
agree.
it's definitely
I
something
agree.
that he's more comfortable with. Also, because in the scene where we go into the nightclub, he has his human face back on.
He does.
Well, because he's trying to
blending in.
he's trying to blend in with us.
Which was lets to the
interesting that he
credence
goes to that.
Exactly. When he's in his downtime, he's going back to something he's more comfortable
he knows
with.
best. But
Yeah.
I agree. Morph.
So the next,
I could have used more explanation too, but I feel like within the context of what I just shared.
the next one, Bishop. What the fuck is Bishop doing here? He wasn't here. He wasn't there at the end of the series.
Yeah.
And Bishop's not there at all. He's just there. There's no explanation.
Sure
He's
there
just
is.
now an X-Men.
No, they bring it up.
What is the explanation?
When Beast was working on his bracelet, he was currently trapped in this timeline.
Why? Like
A lot happened within the past 6 to 9 months.
They don't explain anything as to
explain
what
it.
happened, why he's there. I mean, they do bring
I
that up,
never
like
even
he's
questioned
fixing
that.
his little bracelet or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, in the original series, if you break the bracelet, he's supposed to go back to the time that he is from.
Automatically.
So again, what is he doing there? That was another issue I had right off the bat.
Technology might have evolved since then.
Episode 1. Damn,
Episode
Sam,
1. That's
you were
what I'm
on
saying.
it.
To put this into context, I tested these guys about 7 episodes.
I
in.
love how riled up you got over Morph's face and Bishop just being there.
Because again, it's starting off with these
Yeah.
questions, and I'm just like, what are these people doing here? Can you please tell me? And so I texted these guys about 7 episodes in, and I told them, like, I don't know, like, I'm not really like into the series. Like, anyways,
He's like,
well,
I'm sympathizing with the Friends of Humanity. I feel like fuck mutants and anyone different than me.
all right.
That's what you texted us.
Those were my first things. Let's get into the actual episode.
Yeah.
I did actually think that the episode starts off really well. I like the first action scene where you kind of reintroduce the X-Men. You have the introduction of a new character there.
Roberto da Costa.
Roberto, thank you.
yeah.
Which what is his
Sunspot.
His nom
Sunspot.
de guerre? Yes,
Sunspot.
Sunspot. Yes. So he's a kid who is
Reference, by the way, with the nom de guerre.
yeah, nom de guerre. Yeah. So he's been captured by the Friends of Humanity. The Friends of Humanity are up to no good again. They got some
They've
Sentinel
stepped it up.
technology
Yeah,
somehow.
they've stepped it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the X-Men come in and they.
Well, I mean, just
save.
already having the Friends of Humanity, if I may, having that choice, the deliberate choice to reflect something that's happening today, it feels like, you know?
I was going to
It's
say
very timely.
It was sort
and
of
dude, this takes place in the 90s, dog.
Yes.
Like,
it was kind of a freebie for the writers to have what's currently going on kind of sort of mirror what may be happening in this cartoon.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah, there could be this group of people that feel like they're superior
And have a lot of prejudice
and
against
have a
everyone
lot
else
of
that doesn't look like
prejudice
them.
against something
Yep.
different from them. Enough so to the point where they want to like annihilate them and get rid of them.
Yep.
So that was kind of a freebie for the writers, but they played it. They used it really well.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't so on the nose that like you're like, oh, this is just fucking woke.
Well, the thing is, it's a continuation of they were from the original series.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So it was a perfect thing because they're already there. Like the fact that this is still a continuation from the 90s and it's so relevant to today.
It still works.
What the fuck? Yeah. And for all the people that did complain that this was too woke, this is that, they can't relate to the
I
characters.
never saw any complaints.
Well, these are the people they can relate to.
That's true. Yeah.
So
you find out
it's been mostly acclaimed this show,
yeah,
by the way.
yeah,
We're 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
So what's
Yeah,
the
that's-
main takeaway
Hold
from
on.
episode 1?
Whoa,
Okay.
whoa,
Wait.
whoa. Well,
It's
we
gonna
didn't
be a
talk about
2-hour
the
episode.
X-Men
This is
showing
gonna
up.
be a 2-hour.
The
maybe
fact
it's-
that
Maybe this used to be
the
part
fact
1
that
and 2.
we see Storm
Okay,
show up.
okay.
The first X-Men we get to see is Storm, and she's
Yes.
coming down in her regalness.
Yes.
and the fact that they
Quite
chose
regal.
Storm, and it's the same voice actors. It was such a bring it, like, we're here. We made it. And then all of a sudden we get the addition of fucking Bishop comes with her, which is cool.
Bishop is with her,
And then this new team dynamic, and then Cyclops.
fucking
who-
Cyclops, man.
Dude, this show made Cyclops a badass. Holy shit. I didn't think that was possible.
It gave him
Like,
justice.
this whole show, man.
I still don't
he's
like him.
so,
Fuck him.
Really? Why
He
though?
is so
I
fleshed
never
out
liked
in this.
Cyclops. I never liked Cyclops.
No, I mean, I'll give you that. Like, he
I
hasn't
can
been portrayed
understand,
well in
yeah.
other places, but in
I
this
just
incarnation,
he's
man,
portrayed fine. He's great.
The fact that you said fine, that's a win. But yes, and the callback to "I surrender." Nah,
Nah.
the first episode.
That's good.
Oh, is
yeah,
that
yeah.
from the first episode?
Yeah, with the Sentinels. Yeah.
Oh,
And now he
nice.
did it to Friends of
Such
Humanity.
a 90s humor. Like, nah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of callbacks
Yeah.
and references back to the original show and the 90s and things like that. But
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I may, I'm going to continue on
Go
the
for
line real quick of the
Go.
X-Men, just since we're discussing them.
Go for
Seeing
it.
Gambit and Rogue in the kitchen, Gambit making beignets.
yeah,
Just
kind of flirting.
Because that's something I always loved about the X-Men. It's just their home life. Like, they live together.
Yeah.
That's what differentiates them from a lot of their superheroes.
But if I may, just
for it.
one last thing
Yeah.
from that first scene
Oh, yeah, of
where
course,
they're in
of
the
course, of
warehouse.
course.
I did like that they showed what Cyclops can do with his laser beam. other than
We've
just
talked about this off
shooting
screen.
things.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way,
And
he
it's-
should. Which, by the way, he shot at all those humans. Those humans should have been sliced
But
in
no,
half.
No,
that's where you're
That's
wrong.
where you're wrong. They're
You're
not
a
laser
stupid
eyes.
fucking
They're-
idiot.
They're not
Oh,
laser
I'm
eyes.
sorry.
They're optic force blasts.
It's an optic force
Optic
blast,
force blast.
which is
They always have been.
He destroys. He cuts a Sentinel's
Because
head
the
made out of
visor-
metal.
Because he
Do you
chose
know
the
why?
force
metal,
to go
but
that
he
far.
doesn't. He
Every
doesn't
time-
cut a human in
Because
half.
Every
he's not
time
choosing
he
to cut
touches-
them in half.
when he touches
controlling the
his
force,
his visor,
man.
and he's all
putting
like
a level- he's
"Oh,
a level down?"
Yeah.
Have you
He
ever
knows
used a
what
power
levels.
washer, Sam?
A power washer.
Yeah.
That water will cut you.
I
You
don't
are-
wash.
when it has
I'm not a washing
when it
person.
has
Oh,
enough
man.
pressure.
I need to revoke your dad card because every dad should have
I
used
agree.
a power washer.
Okay,
but
so
yeah,
continue.
the fact that it was used properly and it's pushing him back and he's doing his thing.
He's using it to mobile himself.
Yes.
Mobile
It was so
himself.
He's in
cool.
one corner and he's all
As
like,
you
I
can
need to get
maybe
over
see
there.
here, if no one wants to
No
cut
one
up
put that
the...
Just
There's
the
gonna be a lot of work.
Cyclops.
A lot of work in this one.
But don't do the Disney Plus version. I want you to use a pirated version of
No,
the
no,
clip
do the Disney Plus.
with Japanese subtitles.
I mean, the clip's on YouTube. You don't have
Go
to try
for it.
that hard.
Okay. I was making it hard
Anyways,
for him.
let's get to
Yeah,
them
so
back.
then-
Okay,
Okay,
cool.
okay.
so they're
so-
back at the mansion.
Yes,
Because there's a big
Gambit,
reveal
Rogue,
here.
Yes, we see Morph and just we're bringing them back in. I thought it was really clever to have him turn into Professor Xavier.
Yes.
Oh,
As he's
that's what threw
walking
me
in.
off. Is that what
Yeah.
threw you off, Sam? At
No,
first?
I didn't throw me off. I knew it
threw
was
me off.
Morph.
When he walked out, I was like, wait, what? He's alive? And then it was like, oh, it's Morph.
Okay.
And then I agree with Ule. And then we had Jean who's pregnant.
Yes.
And
yes.
what
that was
my-
a cool little revelation.
That was great. And my immediate
So
thought.
that actually
ahead, yeah.
dates the amount of time that has passed because she's either like 8 months pregnant. She's about it because she has the baby not too long afterwards. So
we just don't know when she got pregnant is all.
I mean, You would have to think that the baby is like a full-grown baby. He's not like a premature baby or anything like that. So it's got to be like 8 months.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been about 8 months. Anyway.
No, of course. We see that she's pregnant.
At least. Right.
And for me, as a comic book fan, I was like, oh, interesting, because, oh my God, the Gray and Summers like fucking family tree of what possible kids. I mean, of course, there was likely that was going to be Cable regardless, but Jean Grey in the comics, and then we're going to get into that a little bit later, her kid is Rachel, not Cable. So I was like, oh, interesting. I wonder if we're going to...
Rachel from Friends?
Yes.
What? Does Ross know about this?
Or is it Rachel from The Dark Knight?
No, it's actually Rachel Summers.
Rachel!
Rachel.
The other Phoenix.
Rachel!
So...
There's another Phoenix?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man.
Right.
You're getting way too much into the comics.
So that's why I got so excited. Like, I was like, ooh, what version are we doing? What are they going with? And that's what I really loved about this, that even as a comic book fan, and all the storylines are ripped directly from the comics, which I want to get into later.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, ooh, I was so excited to see what version or what direction they were going to take this in, because it could have gone in many different directions.
Yeah.
And then after that, we got Beast, and the voice actor's back. We see Jubilee, and that leads us to the Danger Room.
Yeah, the danger.
I'm sorry. I got to speak up, though.
Go for it.
If we're going to do this for the 10 episodes, we're going to be... It's more than a 2-hour episode, man. This is going to be like a... Yeah, exactly.
Keep it going.
So Arturo's going scene
really
by
into
scene.
detail. No, on this first episode, because there's a lot's being...
Okay. Okay.
We're seeing everybody again. Magneto's in the Danger Room. Wolverine shows up. He's
Wolverine shows up,
and he has the claws.
Trying to figure out
he says Bob for the first time.
Yeah, we're all excited. We're all screaming. Real quick, if I may, the last character introduction was Dr. Cooper, who is with the UN.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that was
the
really...
treadmill.
Yes. And
why are you exercising? This is an important meaning.
That happens in movies. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, they can't leave their work. They're working out at work.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's all good. That's all good.
So then we get this link to the UN, and we get this impression that the X-Men are much bigger than life now, in the sense that now they're partially aware, involved with things
with
that
the
are
government. People are a little bit more in agreement with mutants. There's a positive vibe with mutants as a result of Xavier's quote unquote assassination.
Public relations are shaky, but on the positive side.
Yeah.
And a little bit of trivia real quick for my May. Sorry, I know. The voice actress of Dr. Cooper was the original Jean Grey.
Oh, cool.
So they had her come back with this role. And
this is why he's here.
The voice actors of Jean Grey in this was actually the same actress from the X-Men anime and Wolverine and the X-Men. So it was really cool to see her come back.
Arturo is nerding out on this episode.
Shrek, right? She voiced Shrek?
No, she didn't. That was not Cameron Diaz.
Arturo is working at level 10 nerd right now.
You did
can you bring it up to 11? I just want to know what the 11.
The production designer was actually the cousin of the guy who drew the first version of Cyclops' visor.
You heard it here first.
And we're still only in episode 1.
Yeah.
We didn't even get to the club scene where Jubilee is dancing with the fireworks.
We're nowhere near that.
Why are you displaying your powers at this club
yes.
where you're looking for anti-mutant hunters? Why? God damn it. Hey, there's a bunch of anti-mutant hunters
it's
at
a
this
rave.
club.
Nobody was paying attention. But let's get to the end of this episode. They're trying to figure out what's going on with the Sentinels, because the Sentinels are kind of back.
Cyclops says, "To me, my X-Men," and we all lost our shit.
Yeah. That happens later. But he goes and gets Gyrick, who was the man that responsible for killing Xavier, quote unquote, killing him, and he tells him that Bolivar Trask is back. He's created another what's the main Sentinel guy? Master Mold, which was another question I had, like, because in the original series, which came after I rewatched the series, by the way. There's in that whole episode, Master Mold actually rebels against the humans and takes over, and he wants to replace the brain of Senator Kelly and everything like that. So why the fuck would Oliver Trask ever want to do Master Mold again? But whatever. I digress. Let's go back into...
By the way, I love how they referenced that, as it was so ridiculous. Like, the last time we saw him, we wanted to put a robot in his... Like, it was cool.
Yeah.
It was...
and
it was episode 1 ends with the revelation of the will, right?
Yes,
Correct.
yes,
Okay.
and Magneto taking over the X-Men. But I just want to say that battle scene with the Sentinels is cool.
Oh, it's so well done. Oh my god.
It was cool. It felt a little bit just kind of like throwaway episode though to me, but I get
I
it.
thought it was
It's
a
an
great
intro.
introduction to
It's an
everything.
intro episode,
Yeah.
so I get it.
And we also
Listen.
got to see like their fighting styles. Rogue was
Yeah.
kicking so much ass, which I really loved how they got into her. Beast using his intellect,
Yeah.
and like putting himself within the Sentinel. And then towards the end, all of a sudden, Cyclops tells Storm, he just radios, give him the forecast. And then she shows up.
Yeah.
And she has her own theme song now.
she's-
And it was so
And
fucking
she
awesome.
gets identified as a Omega mutant.
Yes, Omega,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Omega little
But
threat.
before that,
Yeah.
before that, just I want to emphasize this entire scene because when they're all in a jet, right? They're all flying, and something that I feel like the Avengers movie never really pulled off. Neither did the X-Men movies pull off, which is showing how each
the
mutant
camaraderie.
Yeah,
Yes.
each mutant's power and their expertise in that power and their knowledge of their own power served as a group.
Preach.
And how it
Yep.
just fucking meshed perfectly to make this group called the X-Men. This fucking scene where they're all in a jet flying and they get attacked, and the way they all handled themselves, like the ones that can fly knew what their jobs were. The Cyclops using his fucking laser beam to soften his landing, which
Yep.
fucking
so
awesome.
Fucking cool.
Jesus
Yeah.
fucking Christ. And then like he's all like, to me, my X-Men, which is that pivotal fucking line. And then they have that just like
They all land all
fucking
cool.
landing behind
It's literally
him.
happening right behind us right
Superhero
now.
landing.
Jesus, I got goosebumps watching
landing.
that.
Yep.
Fucking goosebumps.
Yep.
And I feel like
It wasn't. You guys are
It was so
over-exaggerating.
fucking cool.
Jesus
Fuck
Christ.
Oh my god.
I see your fucking nipples. Those shits, you got
Yes.
as excited as I did.
No,
It was
no,
so
no.
fucking cool. And like, and just like you said, the
only
seeing what
reason-
teams
no,
were going.
it was
the fact
fine.
that
Hold
Morph
on,
hold
turned
on,
into
hold on.
Archangel
Right.
and picked up people.
To pick them up,
that
right.
was so sick.
Listen, the only reason... No,
Which
hold
is
on,
another
Sam.
thing about Morph, by
Hold
the
on.
way.
No, there's-
when he switches to another person, he doesn't just take
does.
their
He picks up
powers.
their-
does.
No.
No, he
Thinking of
doesn't.
Mystique.
Go
No, he
back to the
doesn't. No,
original.
Yes,
he
he
doesn't.
No, there's
Arturo.
a whole scene in the
No,
original.
Sam.
There's a whole
He
scene in
doesn't.
the original where it turns into Wolverine.
Right.
His claws are not
Break off.
adamantium.
Exactly.
They break off. He
Dude,
doesn't have
listen.
the healing power.
Adamantium isn't
No,
a
no,
power.
no.
I
Arturo.
know, but,
Right, but
he
Arturo,
doesn't have
hold
the
on.
healing power or anything like
Both
that.
of you, let me do me a favor and shut up. So they've come out and said that he gets a lot of the physical attributes, but not
the powers.
100%. So if he were to, let's say, turn himself into the Hulk, yes, he becomes super strong, but does he become Hulk strong? Absolutely not, because he's not the actual Hulk. When he turns himself into the Blob, yes, does he develop a lot of his physical attributes, like being able to be used as a trampoline? Yes. But does he become an immovable force like the Blob? No, because only the Blob can do that. That's how they explained him, and they never contradict that in this cartoon. You never
He
see
turns
him
into the Hulk and he acts like the Hulk.
right
Yeah.
in the sense that he has the strength, which he does get, but not 100%. You don't see
It's
him
fine.
fucking.
It's fine. They push the line a little bit. They push the
Okay.
line a little bit.
Okay,
And-
now
Yeah,
fucking-
that super cool scene.
that scene where they I
So
lost my train of thought.
let's we're
So
30
we
minutes
end-
in and
it's
we're still
alright.
on episode
So
1.
I'm telling
we
you
end
guys,
with Magneto.
this is gonna be. I'll see you here tomorrow at 6 a.m.
That's a good thing Noel got here so early.
This is gonna be
So
one episode.
the fact that Charles Xavier leaves everything to Magneto is such a Xavier move, and like, ooh, just all the implications this brings up, because Magneto has joined the X-Men in the comics as well, and like what we see when he does is always so different.
What?
Hold it up higher. Just hold it up higher.
okay.
There you go.
It's always so different.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I turned it
Okay.
up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's try
and that's how the episode
Good.
ended, on a great cliffhanger.
It was good. All right. Episode 2.
I don't even fucking remember episode 2. I just remember what
Arturo?
set it up.
Flip your notepad
and
over.
the intro, Magneto got added
Yes.
because he's now with the X-Men.
Yes,
now
yes.
so
Now
that
he's the
was
leader of the
cool.
X-Men.
And yeah, we get to immediately see Magneto kind of doing
The reaction.
goodwill. And
The
he's,
people
he's
are-
in Coney
reaction.
Island. He's saving people, and he's going and he saves the fucking Morlocks, which is a huge move.
Yeah, so episode 1 ends with basically the X-Men finding out that Charles left in his will everything that is the mansion and the X-Men to Magneto. Magnus,
we went
if
over
you
this.
will. I know, but
You
I'm
were the one complaining
recapping
about
because
time.
we didn't touch on the fact
You're
that
a fool, Ublis.
no, fuck you guys, because we didn't focus enough on the fact that prior to this revelation,
Okay.
Jean and Cyclops were already talking about like, let's fucking leave.
See, he turns into Colossus and he gets.
Right.
Anyways, come on. Sorry.
Cyclops. This is a huge part of the
Yes,
show.
no,
because
you're right. You're right. Let's
just
talk
like
about
with
this.
anything
They were planning
else,
on leaving.
Cyclops and Jean were having that conversation of like, we're having a baby. We this is no place to raise a baby.
Yep,
we
yep,
need to
yep.
get the fucking bounce.
I'm glad you brought this up. It is
And
very
then
important.
you find out that Charles left everything to Magnus, and fucking Cyclops is like, fuck that. He's like the number one student. Like, no, this is my life. This is everything I have to live for. How dare he? Like that. That revelation, I think, is overlooked at because Cyclops. Imagine yourself thinking that you are the preferred. You were the first X-Men. You were the leader. You were the preferred son. You've devoted your entire life to the X-Men.
He felt abandoned once again.
And then you find out that in the will, it was left to Magnus, not to him. So that plays a huge part.
And it drives his character.
It drives the rest of the fucking series, which is that revelation. So I felt like we can't just brush over that. Then we start with episode 2, which is then we see like what it means for Magnus to be like
he's
of
changed.
Course,
He's
of
trying
course
to
the
do
X-Men, the X-Men
professors
is skeptical. Right? The X-Men are like, you fucking have tried to destroy shit.
So, yes, he's trying to respect the professor's wishes, which I'm just gonna bring this up right away. I know this goes up later, but we're 35 minutes into it, and I've been wanting to talk about this, which is the fact that. And again, I had this question. So Xavier ends up being alive, by the way.
Yeah, which was I don't like it.
When I watched the series initially, right? And the episode, I think it's episode 5 or 6.
I believe it's 6.
6, where Xavier comes back.
Yes, it is 6.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? I thought he was dead.
Yeah.
And the previous 5 episodes, they're talking as if Xavier is dead, and they all believe he's dead, and everything like that. But then, and so his reveal in episode 6 was just like, okay, they need to fucking explain how this guy came back from the dead.
Yeah.
They basically give no explanation. It's like one sentence, like, you saved my life, and that was it. No explanation. That almost ruined the series for me. And that's when I was telling you guys, like, I feel
like
this
this.
is fucking meh. Like, this is like, why? This is like a big thing. Explain why he's back.
Character. Yeah.
I rewatched the last episode. I rewatched the last episode of the original series, and in the last episode of the original series, what's her name, Xavier's lover, Leandra comes back and actually takes his body, and they go and everything, and everybody, all the X-Men know that he is going to she basically tells them, my science will save him.
Oh, that there's a chance.
There's a chance, but he says, like, I'll be there in spirit, maybe not in body or something like that. So the X-Men know that he's being taken away by this alien. So they kind of don't know if he's dead or alive or anything like that in the end of the original series. But when we see this series, everybody's like, he's definitely dead. Nobody acknowledges that he's with the alien wife or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just, that so bothered me throughout the series. And watching the original series didn't really answer that question. It actually gave me more questions as to why they're acting this way.
Sure.
And yeah, it pissed me off. And like, why? And that would really change Magneto's motivation, because he believes in this series that he's actually dead, and that's why he wants to fulfill his wishes, because he still loves them as a friend and everything like that. But if they're really continuing from the original series, he knows that he might not be dead. And he actually has this connection with him mentally that he should know he's not dead. God damn it. Anyway.
So the whole last episode, and I see where you're coming from. I do, Sam.
Yeah.
But the whole very last episode with Xavier dying, we knew he was sick for a good while. The health was deteriorating. And there's such a huge finality to this episode. And Charles is going around the room and literally saying goodbye to everybody.
Yes.
And he dies physically there. yes, Lilandra takes him, and yes, there's a chance that, our alien technology, but at this point, they've all said goodbye. And months have passed, nearly a full year, and there's been no news of anything like that.
Yes.
The death certificate shows up here on Earth. That's it. Like, I'm sure that, there could have been some hope, and, maybe that could have been added. But there's been the whole thing of, like, we're moving on. Like, unfortunately.
Which brings up the next question. Okay, well, fine. Here's the next question. He comes back to Earth, right? And he's like, hey, I'm back. Nobody fucking questions it. Everybody's just, I guess Xavier's back.
That was in the news.
Alive. I guess
it was literally in the news, and they start talking about whether.
And in that scene, Wolverine doesn't even believe it. He thinks that it's a trick made by Bastion or whatever, who ends up being the villain at the end of all this. Yeah. So they think he's still dead, and Bastion's just making up lies or something. He shows up, and nobody fucking questions it. Nobody says anything. Nobody's just like, oh, Xavier, I can't believe you're alive. Thank God. Nobody's emotional. It's just brushed away.
It's a lot of emotions,
Sam,
man.
There was no emotion. God damn it. Damn it.
Sam, the way I saw it
bothered me so much.
I see where you're coming from.
Bothered me so much.
I see where you're coming from.
And the thing, you know what bothers me even more? I'm sorry. I know. I'll let you. I'm sorry. What bothers me even more is because I've seen a few reviews now after the season has ended, and no one talks about this. Everyone just accepts that this is just it. This is just how these superhero comic books are. And this one of the things that bothers me about about superheroes is just like there's no stakes. People can die. It doesn't really matter. You can always come back. Even with Gambit. I'm sorry to reveal. It's just
it's okay.
Slow down.
Hey, the comic books are not gonna hurt you.
That's right.
Sam, you're okay.
You're in a safe place.
Comic book movies cannot hurt you. You're okay. Breathe, Sam. There you go. Breathe. I know. Hey, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's okay.
Ashley stayed dead. We'll always have Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben stays dead no matter what. The way I saw it was when Professor X shows up from the dead and he uses his telepathy, he says, to me, my X-Men, I feel like the X-Men, because they have only ever sensed that kind of telepathy from Professor X, it's almost like when you see the birds and the penguins that are able to just, make a specific call that their child knows. That's fucking my mom. Out of all these fucking penguins making squawking noises and calling out for their young, I know my mom's specific young that I know it's her for sure. I feel like the X-Men had that same thing, which is when they felt Professor X calling for them, it was like, this is him. It for sure. We'll ask questions later. Well, yes, this doesn't make sense, but I'm not. The world is ending. I'm not gonna be like, well, where the fuck were you? What? You've been gone for all this. The world is ending. I need to first. Okay, you're alive. I know for sure it's you, Professor X. Let's figure this shit out. I'll ask the fucking questions after all this shit is done. So you're upset because
no one ever asked
when
questions.
Professor X shows up, you're upset because the other X-Men just accepted it. All right, Professor X is back. Let's move on. And I feel like they had to do that because it was imminent. There was like shit going on that they couldn't afford to be like, whoa, now wait a minute, Professor X, where the fuck were you? No, Sinister, hold on, I have some questions that I need to ask. So I was okay with them not focusing on that aspect when Professor X came back.
They had enough time to call each other sisters and friends and family. They couldn't have enough time to fucking talk to Professor X and be like, hey, how the fuck are you still alive?
While shit's going on behind them. Yeah, no, I feel like they could have waited.
All right.
So back to episode 2.
Fucking episode 2? Oh God damn it!
Tell you what we're gonna do.
Yeah, you guys are like on episode 5.
Well, yes, Sam jumped the fuck
I'm sorry.
ahead.
It's just this is these
Hey,
things
there was
have
a
been.
few episodes that were filler episodes, by the way.
Yes.
No, there.
Yeah,
okay,
like the one
episode
with
4.
Jubilee and
Which is
Episode
another
4.
problem.
We'll
huh?
get there. We'll get
But
there.
let's go back to episode 2. Let's go back to episode 2.
Is that where we are?
Let's just get to
Yes, hold
what's
on. The
going on
important
with
things.
Magneto.
Yes,
Let's go on with
Magneto. Okay, so the UN shows up. They decide he's a threat. They need to capture him. They need to give him a trial and everything. I thought it was this portrayed Magneto so well in the sense of like he's just this badass with these speeches, but they all fucking make so much sense.
Yep.
Like the fact that they show up with all their plastic guns, or like, oh, we got you, me. Like, oh, really? You got me?
pew.
He fucking lists their helicopters,
Yep.
and so fucking badass. And
Yeah,
he
that was
chooses
good.
to go. He chooses to go. He chooses to face trial.
He accepts it. He's like, all
He
right,
accepts it.
arrest
And
me.
What happens at this trial? The
All hell
Capitol
breaks
gets
loose.
stormed.
Yeah.
Yeah, very Gen
Very-
6. Yeah.
And that was done on purpose.
That's cool.
Yeah, and you get what is the villain's name? Executioner. Yeah, who's created this little special weapon that, if shot at a mutant, takes away their power, which ends up being a very, you think at this moment, a very important scene. Which comic book, of course, fuck it up. But anyways, continue. Sorry, sir.
You mean the part where Storm loses her powers? That was a very powerful
I
scene.
know it's a very powerful scene,
And
but
they
then
keeps
what
going.
ends up happening is
It affects the rest of the show.
It becomes
She
pointless.
cries.
Yes, and it would be more impactful if you knew that was final and that it wasn't this. But I want to get to that when we get to that.
We digress.
When we get to that, it's just this is what I.
So that was so badass. Yes, and we got to see cameos from Colossus. Basically, well, the more
turns into
different characters
Colossus.
was
A
such
lot
a
of
fun
the
cameos,
cameos come
and he
from
was
Morph, you
Colossus and
guys.
Psylocke in this, and it was
gets
so
his
cool to see
powers.
them.
Yeah.
So cool to see them.
Their physical attributes. Not their
There's a great
full
fight
powers.
between the Executioner and Cyclops in this as well, I believe. Remember
Yes,
correctly.
there is, and the whole sequence where Magneto like basically creates a cage with the power of with Storm's team up.
Yeah.
For all the people that were behaving like animals, and this whole notion of like even the
he
friends of
takes them
humanity, yes, and he takes them
out to space.
Well, because then like the people that are holding him like on trial, they're like no, you did this, no, you did that, and like oh, well, why are they coming after us? We're human, we're the normal people.
Yeah.
Like they're damned just because they
What
gave
was
him a
this
chance
quote?
to talk.
Yeah.
Like holy shit!
You gave a crazy man.
my God.
The platform or something.
Yep,
like
yep,
that. I
like,
forgot what his
oh.
quote was, but
I know I've been giving a lot of negatives lately, but I'll give a positive. I will say that the writing,
Yes.
in terms of the dialogue, is so much better in this
than
in
it was
X-Men
back
97
in
than
the
it
day.
was obviously in the original series.
And
where
for a lot of series,
Where-
I'd say this stands up pretty tall.
yeah, it's very well written in terms of the dialogue. I think the dialogue is really good. A lot of nice, cool, nostalgic callbacks, but on top of that, there's like very good monologues. And Magneto's monologue when he's up in space and he's talking to the judges or whatever they are. Great. That was a great monologue. And,
I think
I enjoyed it.
out of all the series, I want to say Magneto had the best monologue.
Best lines, yeah.
The best speeches.
You're
the
a
best,
fool, Blester.
Yeah, I am. I'm a moron, if you will.
As episode 2 is also ending, this is our biggest. So the first episode that ended up with a cliffhanger, like Magneto's inheriting the will, but all of a sudden, episode 2 drops us with a huge cliffhanger that again affects the rest of the show.
Storm.
Storm loses her powers, and all the
Storm
X-Men are talking
loses
about
her
it in the
power.
living room. We
Yeah.
find out Storm left, and then all of a sudden someone knocks on the door. Oh, Morph's like, you know what? It's Storm. She's back. She's gonna handle those humans. And who walks in the door?
The
Jean
Jean
Grey.
Grey clone.
Even though Jean Grey is already there.
Right.
Yes,
And
yes,
it's
yes.
like, so
Yeah.
me as
Fuck.
the nerd I am.
Wait,
Oh, shit,
but
go
we
for it.
we
Go,
skipped over
what? What
something.
did we
The
skip over?
baby is born in
Yes, that
episode
is correct.
2.
Actually, I wrote that here. I wrote baby in all caps.
Baby
Oh,
is born
there you
in
go.
episode 2.
Baby.
Which is a big deal.
Baby.
Which is a
Bagway.
huge deal. And
Yes.
we find out they name him Nathan. Oh,
Yes.
so
Aw.
cute. And his little blanket has X's on it.
Ah.
Yeah.
Nathan.
So
it's amazing how they have branded blankets for babies.
Yeah, they did. It's the X-Men. Everything is branded. Well, in addition, that was actually we talked about the birth. I forgot. Let's go over that real quick. The fact again that the doctor wouldn't even deliver a mutant baby.
Oh yeah,
and what they did, Rogue, and just that was so beautiful, and her using her power in such a positive light because she's always had that issue with her powers, and it won't let her get close to people. But in this case, it allowed her to deliver a life, and I thought it was really beautiful. And just before that, I thought it was funny as fuck when Jean says he's coming, and Logan's in the room, and he's like, "Oh, apocalypse!" Like he's so ready for a fucking it's the baby.
The baby.
But no, that was beautiful, and I got to see that within the birthing. Like it was cool. It was cool. It was great.
Good episode 2, I think. I think wonderful. Episode 2 was better than episode 1 in my opinion. But Okay. Anyway, episode 3.
So
this is where we get the horror.
Yeah. So the horror episode. Holy shit. Okay.
This was good.
The first 2 I watched with my son, and the second one felt like it was a little much. Like some of the violence and the themes were a little intense.
This is where it gets
this
nice.
episode about like 5-10 minutes in, whatever it was, but when things get really weird, I was like, nope. Pausing this, Damien. Let's go do something else. Let's go for a walk.
Watch Bluey.
But
this episode, I want to.
If I may,
okay, go. Sorry.
Just because of again
the
comic book nerd in me.
If I may, shut the fuck up, Sam.
Thank you, man.
You're a fool.
I'm going to say something I've been waiting to say to you both for a long time. Shut up.
No.
You say it.
That was a reference in the movie.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, from the show.
Yeah.
So the nerd in me got super fucking excited because I knew where this was going. The fact that are you listening?
I'm listening. I just wanted to hug him because I'm getting kind of drunk.
So again, I was like, because we knew Jean was pregnant, and I thought, okay, maybe they're gonna have Jean be Cable's mom. The second she showed up, I was like, holy fucking shit, Madeline Pryor is here, the fucking Goblin Queen.
You knew way more about this than I did, man.
Yeah,
dude. So
that was
Goblin
one of my
Queen was I thought Jean Grey was Jean Grey and the Phoenix. And that's it.
Oh yeah, no.
I never knew about Madeline Pryor and the Goblin Queen.
Like, if I may, super quick, I will just when I was a kid, thank you, reading comics and learning about them, and my cousin was like my mentor basically for all this. I remember specifically, seeing Cable on a Pepsi card because that was a thing in Mexico.
Of course.
And just seeing him with his metal arm and his guns, like, dude, who's this? Like, he looks really interesting. He's like, he's the son of Cyclops and Jean Grey's clone. And I was like, I'm sorry, what the fuck? And thank you for the annotations. And then he proceeded to tell me the whole story. And I remember that was the first story that wasn't Wolverine centric that I was obsessed over within the X-Men.
Yeah.
Because I was fucking like 12 or something. And I went immediately to find all the comic books I could because it was just an engaging storyline. And if I have a nitpick on this show, Sam, is that this?
What?
I know.
You have a nitpick?
It wasn't
I don't
given
consider
enough
I don't
time.
consider my criticisms nitpicks.
They're
just criticisms.
If I had a criticism, this would be it. It just needed more episodes. Because this is something that is fleshed out over the comics for fucking years.
As to how the clone happened and everything like that?
Yeah, and when...
That was my fucking thing as well.
That's my only complaint.
That was another fuck. Every episode
I needed 2
had
episodes
a problem.
dedicated to this, her storyline. But let's get into it. Yeah, because we're officially here. What? A clone? When? How? What? Where?
Yeah.
And you know what's so this is one of the questions that somewhat got answered by the original series. If you go back to the original series,
find out when.
Yeah, there is a scene.
Season 4.
I didn't get to season 4. I was but in season 1,
there's 2 possibilities.
There's season 1 where Cable comes out again. In the second time he comes out, Jean Grey goes into his mind, and there is just like a split-second flash where Jean Grey and Cyclops, and there's like a little slash next to them or something like that, and it was just like, oh, that's what I needed. That's all I needed, and all of a sudden that whole thing went away. I was like, there was a thing in the original.
All I needed.
And see, sometimes you can answer these questions with just a split second.
Yeah, I'm not knocking it.
And that's why it makes me so mad that you couldn't just take that split second to show that one thing to kind of just be like, okay, yeah, you explained that. That's all you needed. Thank you, the writers. But anyways, I digress.
No, I'm glad you brought it up, man. Yeah, get it out. No, it's a good thing.
This is all you guys, man. You're fucking looking at me for some input, but I'm just fucking boggled by the fact that there was this like Goblin Queen and Madeline Pryor addition.
So I agree with you as well. There should have been more explanation as to when all this stuff happened.
To add to your guys, I would have appreciated an extra episode to just kind of maybe give some backstory on that. but I fucking went with it. Look,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people watching this shit are on that
They're already
same
here.
boat. They're nowhere near your level, Arturo, of like, oh, well, clearly that's fucking Sinister's cousin who built the machine that needed the batteries that Cable was able to. No one fucking is able to do that other than like this very small percentage.
Aw, thanks, man.
So I'm glad that you are there, but I feel like a lot of people watching this were just like, I don't know what the fuck that means, but the main story doesn't change, which is fucking Magnus and the new villain who we are. I want to bring it back to like what we're actually talking about. So throughout this whole time, you think that the main villain is going to be Sinister.
Wait, are
right?
you talking about the whole show right now? Or
the
just
whole
episode?
show, man?
Well, let's go
trying
back to the
bring it
episode.
back.
Let's do the
Whoa.
episode. I'm surprised Noel hasn't come in here because Noel saw this whole series.
I agree with Uble. We episode 3 is where you're like, okay, that's not Jean Grey, so obviously Mr. Sinister's behind this. So then you think, oh, Mr. Sinister's the villain.
Yeah,
so
I
I'm
think Mr. Sinister's
kind
the
of
villain,
with
so then-
Uble.
Yeah, but you don't
Episode
find
4,
you don't
episode
find
5.
out you don't find out who's really behind all of this until later.
but
Which is where I'm
that's
trying to head.
implied.
I'm trying to head to that.
What do you mean? Yeah. But let's finish this episode.
Yeah,
I agree
no,
with
I
wanna hear the notes.
Arturo
It was,
because
it was Sinister was the big bad in this, and then we get this feeling, oh my god, there's more pulling behind the strings.
Right.
Could he be the villain of this entire season? We don't know just yet. But it was done so well in his
It was.
introduction.
It was.
Within the shadows, coming through the fucking walkie-talkie. Sorry, the Bobby monitor, Bobby.
Bobby Monitor.
For Iceman,
Bobby, yeah.
because he's back for the baby.
Yeah, dude, I was
Baby,
like, ooh, that was so fucking well done. And to Transformer,
baby.
and just the delivery, by the way, of Jennifer Hale, the voice actress of Jean Grey, to give us two different characters and make them so unique to each other and sound so different while giving them the exact same voice, I thought was so incredibly well done.
Yeah.
I love how you just bring out those names. It just,
Thanks, man.
You're turning me on for some weird
Oh, you're
reason.
very welcome.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't understand why.
When Madeline Pryor, a.k.a. the Goblin Queen, says, they shall know my inferno.
I remember when Jennifer Padilla, the executive producer,
You're wasting more
mentioned
time with your fucking
that
little
Michelle- I
bullshit.
know, man.
You
What
were-
are you guys going on with this
Hey,
shit?
the humor is part of the show.
No, it's
part
not.
of the
I
time.
agree. I agree.
We have to do this.
So let's
do
see.
this.
So we're
The nice
now
little Conan
in
flip.
hell. The mansion is possessed. It's
Yes.
very cool.
Wait, I want to talk about one thing that's
Yes.
also revealed in this episode is
We're
the
still
whole
talking about
relationship between Rogue and Magneto.
Yeah,
Which-
I
which-
have that.
Oh,
I have that note right
yeah.
here. See, we have Savage Land. So in actually the prior episode, we do get a hint of it, and
Yes.
it's all like if they knew what was like that cat's got to stay in the bag. Magnus.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Nice.
Thank you.
Arturo bringing out the voices.
I'm more turned on by you now than I was before.
Do that more.
Well, thanks, sugar.
Oh, fuck.
I got the chills. I got the chills.
Yeah, so that does happen in this episode because we're seeing a lot of like nightmarish things. Everyone's hallucinating.
And there's a whole thing where she puts her like hands through her through Magneto's body as Gambit
And
is
it's, like,
hallucinating.
melting through.
Because Gambit is jealous
Yeah.
of this whole thing.
Oh, and then
He
just before
suspects-
this too, he suspects, and then we have the thing where they come out of the danger room, Gambit, Morph, and Wolverine.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, like you guys ever seen Magneto and Rogue? Oh, look, they got sessions
Morph.
in the
In the
fucking
war room.
Oh, tonight,
Morph is
tomorrow.
an
Like,
instigator,
like,
man.
dude, come. It's like,
I love Morph's personality here
It's
because
so
I feel like
fucking
that's
great.
my personality. If I were a mutant, I would want to be a shapeshifter because I'd be just like Morph. I think I just
Yeah.
constantly making practical jokes and whatnot.
Oh yeah, no.
Anyway,
I can see that.
but I really love that scene. By the way, that was one of my favorite scenes where Gambit is hallucinating this whole thing,
Yeah.
and like Morph and Magneto having this intimate thing, and like
Right.
her
Yeah.
hand
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
into his body.
You don't have
and
to do
it's
that,
just
sure.
like- it's some awesome body
fine.
horror thing going on
It is-
there.
it is- yeah, it's
Yeah.
this whole thing is a
And-
horror movie. And the references to Frankenstein in the laboratory, and the fact that they
Frankenstein.
used wipes,
Laboratory.
the laboratory, thank you.
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein's laboratory, and the fact that they had like the bats that were like wiping the screen, like just like it was a horror movie. This
was
whole
good.
thing was horror, and I
It was a
fucking
good one.
loved it so much. In addition to the horror aspect, we got another cameo by Morph, Magic. Which is Colossus'
Johnson?
sister.
Oh.
No, the character Magic.
Oh, wait.
Ileana Rasputin, played by Anya Taylor-Joy in the live-action version.
Oh, you should watch
that.
our Anya Taylor-Joy Celebrity
Click
Spotlight
here.
episode.
Up here.
And our upcoming Furiosa review up here.
Over
That
there.
probably already happened, actually.
True. And I thought it was such a double reference because so she's actually a big part of the comic book storyline and how she's connected to Limbo and Hell and this and that. So we got 2 versions of her, the superhero version and the one with the horns and everything. So I thought that was a really cool cameo for all the fans out there. I would have loved to have that expanded on, but it's okay. I'm not mad at it. So more stuff happens. I'm deciding to see what to skip over here because there's so much.
How do they? I can't remember how they figure out how to defeat Sinister in this particular episode. How did they defeat him?
Madeline Pryor defeats him.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, with the power
Because
of Jean Grey.
Okay. Thank you.
So that was a really cool
They come
moment.
together, right?
Yeah, and
Yes,
she's like,
yes.
"Let go of my baby," and she's back, and she's insanely powerful at this. I mean, they both are, but that whole journey that Jean and Madeline had, and whose memories are whose, and who am I, and who are you, like that. I think that was incredibly well done. And ultimately, that's how they defeat Sinister. But before when he's, he kidnaps baby Nathan. He infects him with the technovirus.
Yes.
And their only way to save him is to send him into the future with Bishop, where there could be a solution.
Yes.
And Cyclops, who is going through so much, and Dewey stayed for the kid, and this and that, and now he's forced to abandon his
by
son,
his father,
just like his father.
He was abandoned by Xavier.
Oh my God! And I don't even know how to properly talk to you, Madeline, because he's so been lied to, not necessarily lied to on purpose.
He's been fucking the clone the whole time,
and without him knowing.
It's
dude, like he was in love. They made a baby. Like that love was real.
That's gotta be a mind fuck, man.
Oh, for sure, in so many ways. Many ways. So that was a lot, and they send out the baby, and it was very sad.
Yes.
And at the very end, that was another one of my critiques. All of a sudden, Jean and her clone are talking. She's like, "I'm gonna go. You should stay. It's still your home." Like, no, I have to figure out who I am. I'm like, okay, well, have a nice day. And you can call me Madeline Pryor. I'm like, where the fuck did you get the name from?
Yeah.
That was
no explanation.
that is a criticism of mine.
Imagine if she was like,
This happens
"It's
a
from the
lot."
And to choose a last name. You
It's
could have just
from
said,
the
you know what,
comics.
call me Madeline. Like,
and she changes her clothes just all of a sudden, whatever. But
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
anyways.
But
okay, good
yeah.
episode. That
And
was
that's
the end
where
of
the
episode 3.
episode ends. Yeah. Oh, and then Storm, we see that little the almost post credit scene.
Yeah, where she's
at a bar.
Forge.
She meets Forge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that leads us into
Which
episode
leads
4.
into episode 4, which is the
I
worst
agree,
episode.
Yes, it is a filler episode. I hate Mojo. I always did. And
Why did they even bring him back?
Nostalgia.
Fan
Yeah,
service.
it was all fan service. It was all
That
video
episode-
game nostalgia, which is fine. But the fact that they didn't even give it a full episode and they combined
It's a
it
halfer.
with
Yeah.
like even that felt even more filler to me.
Yeah.
Like in the whole we need to still carve out 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
They kind of in the history of Marvel, right? Episode 4 is always kind of like the filler nowhere, and then
it happens
episode
a lot
5,
with the 4s of
a lot of
anything.
the shows,
Yeah.
Loki's and
Oh, that's true,
WandaVision's.
yeah.
Episode 5 is where you get like the holy shit. It starts off strong with episode 1. Episode 2 kind of carries a little bit of that strong.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 3 and episode 4 is maybe a little bit slower just to kind of fill. And then episode 5 is like, boom,
Yeah.
got you. That's what
this
was.
is where I really started to come down on the series because I mean, I think
What?
I think episode 1, 2, and 3, overall were good, but I had so many issues, so many problems that I've already talked about with these different episodes and stuff like that. And then when this episode came, I was like, this episode sucks.
Yeah.
Like
Makes
I
no sense.
honestly thought like, what
am I
a
watching
shitty
this?
episode.
Yeah.
Like,
Motendo.
even the only thing that I guess that came out of it was that you get a little bit of character development in Jubilee and
Sunspot.
and
Roberto.
Sunspot. Yeah, and you get a little bit of the relationship, which was good, but I feel they could have just done something else besides this fucking Mojo thing.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing with Storm was, again, because it was just like a half episode of that, really felt kind of, again, more
Is this
like
the one with the
filler.
hallucinations?
Not yet.
Oh.
It's more of like Forge
Well,
and Storm's relationship build up.
yeah,
The owl does show up though.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you get it more at the end
Yes,
where
it's a
setup.
where
Yeah.
It's
where
a setup.
the,
It's a setup
setting
more
up.
than anything.
Yeah.
I agree. Honestly, Sam, I do. This is the weakest part of the show for me. I didn't hate it, but did not love it by any means. Interesting enough, so I watched the first episode 5 times. I watched
Oh,
the second
shit.
and third 4 times
5
each.
times?
5 times.
My lord. I thought
Yes.
I think you might have a problem.
And then on episode 4, I was like, I don't need to rewatch this one.
4 times is enough for this one.
Yeah.
No, so that was the last of me
Let's move on
rewatching.
to episode 5.
But that was the episode with the adult jubilee, and that was cool.
Oh, she turns 18?
which I mentioned earlier. No.
Oh,
in the
oh,
future,
oh,
the
okay.
original voice actors came back to
okay.
voice. I mean,
She's fighting an eagle. Arturo's like, what?
didn't
No.
say that. I said she turned 18. She becomes an adult.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. There you go.
That's what you were thinking, Uble.
Dude, that's what you said.
I didn't say that.
Go on, Arturo.
so episode 5 is the big one.
Yes.
Yes.
So holy shit, this is what the whole internet was
This was the
talking
best
about.
episode of the
This is
entire
why
series.
I agree.
Yep.
This is why my phone blew up. Everything started off so like this is the life we could
Genosha.
have.
Smooth.
Genosha, and seeing everyone just dancing, and they have their marketplace and they're making love.
Walmart.
I kind of really enjoyed the sort of world build of Genosha in this episode, and just like how a mutant country would look like,
Yes.
and how people would
was their
interact, and the
dream,
government
yeah.
and whatnot, everything like that. So it was really cool.
It was great, and the perfect person got introduced. That was the perfect happy-go-lucky character for this Nightcrawler. With that personality that he has, man, it was so good. I've always fucking loved Nightcrawler, man.
Yeah,
As a
me too.
character.
Same.
I used him also a lot as a playable character in X-Men Legends 1 and 2. And it was just so great to have him come back, especially because one of his his solo episode in the original series is one of the strongest X-Men episodes.
I remember that one.
I
With
remember
the
it,
monastery.
I remember it.
And like, so having him come back and seeing his relationship with Rogue, because they are, step siblings.
Yeah.
They were it brought it this whole beautiful thing, and we're seeing what could possibly be and this beautiful future for them. Madeline is now with them as well, and
She's gone over there.
there's so much promise of like this maybe there can be peace. Maybe this is what this looks like.
Yes. There's a whole scene that happens here where Cable returns, and you get the revelation that he returns at this moment, meets Madeline Pryor, and Madeline Pryor kind of already recognizes
his
that
eyes,
that it is his son,
Her son.
Nathan. Her son, sorry.
Yeah.
Her son, Nathan, yes. So
And
that was a big moment.
It was
there.
a huge moment. And if I may, real quick, and I'm going to.
You may.
I loved that the whole original series never actually got to Cable's parentage. There's only one mention of it
There's a
when
split
Cable
second.
just says, "Yeah, I know all about Scott and
Yeah.
Jean." And
Yes,
and
that
that's
happens
it.
in the second.
exactly.
That wasn't season 4.
wasn't
It
even-
was in season 2. I mean, season 1. Season 1.
No, of the
It wa-
original.
I'm just talking about the original series.
Okay,
that
yes,
it happened in the original
yes,
series.
yes,
yes.
That was the only reference to his parentage in the original series.
No, there's another reference. It's that split second. I'm telling
right,
you.
right.
It's
Yeah,
in
yeah,
his
yeah.
mind, and
Where
the
he
split
shows up.
second.
Yeah.
But either which way, like the fact that left it for this to continue and to develop and actually flesh it out, and you see that, I thought that was so fucking great, man. It was so awesome. And then he shows up and then he disappears, and then at this point, I was on the edge of my seat for the rest of the fucking episode, man. I leapt up when I saw Cable, and I never left this moment
that stance.
for the rest of it, because that's when fucking Sentinels show up, man.
Yeah, and the Sentinel is showing up. There's a lot of mystery there that doesn't get answered in this episode, which I kind of enjoyed. And then just the battle sequence, everything that's happening there. Also, all of in the background, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but the whole Gambit and Rogue and Magneto
That's
love
true.
triangle
Let's bring it up.
is being developed throughout the last 2 episodes
And
or
also
so.
Storm
And-
with her the hawk.
That happens afterwards.
Yeah.
That happens afterwards. Storm is not in
The
this
owl.
episode.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll get there later.
Yeah, and so you have that whole love triangle going on, and the question. So Magneto gets asked to be the leader of Genosha.
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
Yes,
which we haven't
yes,
talked
thank
about.
you. Yes.
And so,
I
but
have that here in
Magneto
my
wants
notes.
Rogue to be by his side.
him.
Yeah, with him. And Rogue has this dilemma of should I stay with the
Okay.
X-Men
Mags
and
and Rogue.
be with Gambit because she loves Gambit obviously, but she still loves Magneto. Which, by the way, is there any mention of the relationship in the original series?
No.
No. So this was one of the other questions that I was like, kind of like, when did this all happen? But you know,
We
whatever.
find out.
This,
It
that
does,
was-
it does come back.
Yeah, it was one of those things that I kind of just accepted. I guess at some point there was a thing
Yeah.
because they do end up sort of doing a
They
flashback.
would, yeah, they would.
They do a flashback.
mash.
And as a comic book fan, I knew exactly what was happening at this point.
I'm sorry,
I just
Mr.
wasn't- no, I just-
Comic book.
I just wasn't sure how they were going to interpret it. Which I'm glad the direction they took was really great. And then yes, because we do see her seemingly accept.
Yeah.
And she walks in with Magneto, and she's wearing the dress, and they're dancing, they're touching. It's this whole thing. And also,
Magneto and yeah, you're right. I thought yes.
Yeah.
They're doing the whole thing. Yes, go.
yeah,
Sorry,
they're dancing in the air. It's
They're
amazing.
dancing in the air, yeah.
And everyone's like, "Oh, great!" And then Gambit's over here, fucking heartbroken as fuck.
Yes, poor Gambit,
yeah,
man.
like oh,
Crying.
I fell for him.
dude, it's so hard. And then this whole thing while this is happening, I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, at least we're getting more Gambit. I feel like he's been so sidelined in this series that so far, like this is giving me him a huge chance to shine. I hope that Rogue chooses him,
Here he
and sure
comes.
enough, she does. She does, because you realize there's something more than just touch.
But
and
he
that's the
doesn't know
connection to-
that.
He doesn't know that.
You
Just
only
yet.
we the audience know
That's
because
true.
of the kiss that there's a kiss that happens between Magneto and Rogue, which Gambit witnesses, and he's just like, oh, it's fucking over.
And
You
he
know, I'm
leaves.
just gonna have to move on.
Yep.
He's just my heart broke. It was a broken heart.
Sure, man. Poor
This
Gambit.
episode, by the way, is like magnificent.
Yeah,
It's a 10 out of 10, A+. And
1000%.
so just the emotion that's going on. But after that kiss, I think Rogue realizes that this is not what she wants,
Yeah.
and kind of gives the signal of like, you know, I'm not going to be with you.
Yeah.
And before she really gets to explain, that's when the Sentinel
That's true.
gets attacks and, you know, disrupts everything.
And it's holy hellfire at this.
Yes.
Like it's insane. Like it reminded me of Game of Thrones when the green stuff was exploding everything.
Yeah.
Like the wedding? You mean the red wedding?
I mean
no,
the
no.
violence of that, but no,
It
was,
felt like the red wedding where
I mean,
you're just
yeah.
like everything's cool and we're all
That's
having
true.
a we're having a
Ooh,
good
yeah.
time.
It was
and then
their red
somebody
wedding.
slices
Yeah.
someone's throat.
That's exactly how it happens, dude.
Yeah.
And the chaos that's happening, the destruction, like with Magneto telling Leech, like, you know, don't be afraid, and watching him die in front of him. Rogue and Gambit kicking all sorts of ass together, like, and being on that motorcycle, and like seeing Gambit use his powers in ways, you know, that it's just And then we get to the
I enjoyed the destruction and I liked the sadness of this episode and the tragedy, and then you get the big tragedy, which is and the way it's done, it was really well done. I mean, very well cinematically. Like I could have seen this sort of episode in the big screen, type of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
So he
agree.
gets stabbed by the Sentinel with like I don't know what, like some cable thing or something,
yeah,
right?
he gets caught through the side.
Yeah.
The fact that it's touching him in his insides, he lights it up with his kinetic energy.
But before that, because with the
it's
Sentinel
as that's happening, because it just calls him mutant something or another, and he says the name is Gambit.
Remember it.
Like,
Yeah,
which is a callback.
Yeah.
Give me a Coke. To the original series where he
Yes.
does say that. Yes.
Yeah.
And that was just so like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. Holy shit! And then he drops, and Rogue tells him, "I can't feel you, sugar."
Yeah.
Oh, and his
That
face
was
to
the
black.
hardest part.
Oh my
cries,
god!
he cries.
I sobbed
Especially
profusely.
because of this conversation that happened earlier, which is like Gambit saying like, "I want to feel you."
Yeah.
I forgot the context of the conversation, but it was basically along those lines of like feeling each other.
She said
Because of Rogue's
she
power?
couldn't touch him.
Yeah.
Right, she couldn't feel him or something like that. Like I can't feel you, Gambit, because of my power. And then at the end of this episode where Gambit is dead and she repeats that
And she's
line,
holding him like but
She's
skin to
holding
skin
him.
contact, and she's like, I can't
and she's
feel
like,
you.
I can't
Like,
feel you,
oh,
which is a
fuck.
callback to what her initial complaint, not complaint, but like issue was, which
With her
is,
powers.
I
Yeah.
can't feel you, Gambit. The reason why I'm going to Magneto, I can feel him.
That's
Yeah.
why that sentence was so
I
powerful.
can touch him.
man.
I can feel him. I can't feel you. So sorry. And then at the end of this episode, he's dying, and she's like, I can't feel you, which is what she wanted or what she needed. Yeah, that shit.
Yeah.
That shit
It
fucking was tough,
fucking
man.
broke
It was
me,
a
dog.
great ending.
It was
Great
a very
ending.
good
Like
ending.
I remember
Yeah.
literally I sobbed, and like Maya really like had to put her hand on my back and like console me.
Oh fuck.
Because
man.
like again,
Cried.
Gambit's one of my favorite characters, and he finally had a chance to sign, and now he was fucking dead, and it looked very final.
Yeah.
More on that later.
Well, more on that later.
Please.
So
more on that later.
more on
'cause
that
I
later.
didn't-
We'll talk about
what
that in part
I will
two.
say, so right after that, I have an app I use called TV Time, and people go on and post their thoughts. I don't know if you guys caught the cameo in the sky because I didn't. I had to rewind the episode.
Oh,
and
the
pause
Watcher?
it. The Watcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I saw
Watcher was in the sky.
What the fuck is the Watcher?
So for all you non-comic book
Oh.
nerds, so the
20 minutes later.
basically it's an
It's a cartoon.
omniscient
Being.
being within
May
the
I?
Marvel universe that sees everything, tries to not get involved, but randomly does.
Within the
Ah.
Marvel universe, there exists this person called the Watcher, which has
Thank you, Noel.
It has access to all the different timelines and possibilities within the Marvel
He sees
universe.
everything
He sees
everywhere
everything.
all at
He's
once.
God.
Different timelines, different. Not God, because he doesn't interfere.
He doesn't create it, but he's watching.
But he
it.
says he
Wasn't the
does interfere
creator.
sometimes.
Well, yeah, which results in the What If series now streaming on Disney
Yeah.
Plus.
Yeah, but you see a quick glimpse of.
Yeah, he's
of
right there.
his
There's
outline.
eyes. So
There you go.
that was my hope that actually the Watcher would do
Yeah.
something, or that maybe even Cable, because he showed up for a brief moment. Was he?
But
but
gonna
we
be able
find
to
out
do
why he
something?
can't do
Yes.
it.
So is this the conclusion of our part 1 episode?
This is the conclusion.
Let's see. I have
Yes.
a sad face next to Gambit, and that is it for episode 5.
Okay.
Well, let's start with episode 6, which is the aftermath of
Episode 5.
Episode 5,
And
and
we get to see, we're in space now too, right? We get to see Professor Xavier
This is when we do shrooms, right?
during a
Arm
war
does shrooms.
between
So-
the Shi'ar and Kree empires.
so episode 6
Yeah,
does get into
Where Xavier's been?
yeah, what's going with
He's trying
Xavier
to get
and
engaged.
so you get this whole thing with Xavier and what's happening in space with the what is the name of this alien empire?
The Shi'ar.
The Shi'ar. Thank you.
Shi'ar.
But you get a little intro with the the sister, and she's
Deathbird,
fighting.
yes.
Yeah, and she's fighting the
Lalandra,
no,
his lover.
No, it's
Oh, the Kree.
the
That's right.
Kree, yes,
and we get a
yes.
cameo from Ronan.
Yes. Which
Nice.
I've only known him from the Galaxy as
Guardians
of the Galaxy. Since I'm not a big comic book person like yourself, so
Clearly.
I didn't really know
Clearly.
who he was until that movie. So that was kind of cool. And then you get this whole thing, and there's a whole politics going on with Xavier. And, he wants to, he's kind of a horn dog having this little relationship with the queen of Shi'ai, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, he's handling his shit. out in outer
Empress
space, man.
Lalandra.
Yeah, and apparently they do some role playing because he's all talking about being a dog or something. There's like
don't know
there's a
about that.
comment where about him being an animal, and he's just like, ha, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do to you and this
I don't
tonight.
recall this version at
It
all.
happens, goddammit.
Sure.
Noel, I want you to put that scene.
my God.
But there is a scene. There is a scene where they mention
So,
something like that.
Hey, for the sake of time,
Yes. So
how do you feel about that entire side story, or not side story, but like
Of Storm? Oh, wait,
no,
Xavier.
Xavier was
I-
going to space and being like betrothed to this person, and then having a glimpse of what was happening on Earth, and like stupidly realizing like, oh shit, me being gone means they have problems. I need to go back. Like that.
I didn't really
For
like
me,
it.
yeah.
I-
Me, man, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, man. I it's not that I hated it. It's fine. It was there. I'll enjoy it. But did I need it? Did I ask for it? No. None of the
as I
above.
talked about in part 1, I really didn't like the whole Xavier coming back sort of
Yeah,
storyline
man.
and how they dealt with
Even,
that.
Look,
It
I would have
could-
been fine with
yeah.
it if it would have been one episode, like a one episode thing. Like, oh, we have this one episode where we find out where he's been.
it was one episode. He
No,
goes
I
back
feel like
to
it
Earth
was-
right after this.
Yeah, he does.
So this whole episode is about him trying to prove and
To the other
to the
people.
other people that
Yeah.
he's worthy of
He's
the
worthy.
engagement, even though he's a different
Was that
breed.
only one episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they
'cause
have
the
to. They tell him,
sister-
okay, then erase all your memories, and he
Yes,
can't let go
yes.
of his X-Men.
Yes.
So like, and I will agree in the sense that they should have been a little bit more fleshed out. But I think we've reached a point where Xavier feels like he left Earth on a good note. He feels like he left things to go well. He's actually finally enjoying himself for once. He's letting his guard down.
Yeah.
He's accepting this new life where
Briefly.
he's not. Briefly, yes, and I think that is part of why like there's that disconnect that you're feeling, which I do agree with. But then we ultimately see that he can't let go of his X-Men.
Yeah.
You know, and he schools all of them and places them in telepathic prison for a bit, or in his classroom, which I thought was a really nice touch.
Yeah.
But at that
That's
same
cool.
fight, he find out his X-Men are dying.
Is there any sort of precedent of him just getting these flashes of what's going? Because I felt like that was such a cop out of just
Sure.
all of a sudden he just gets this flash of like, oh, this is what's going on Earth.
Yeah.
Like usually from the original series, it's someone's trying to communicate with him, and that's when he gets like into their minds and everything like that.
So-
without him actually trying to communicate with Earth, or nobody from Earth trying to communicate back to him, I just felt like it was just like he just gets this vision, and it's like, I gotta come back.
So to answer that, he's an extremely powerful telepath, and we've actually seen this happen before in another universe, Star Wars. There was a great disturbance in the Force.
come on, this is not. That's not.
1,000 worlds were crying out at the same
Why
time
are
and
you-
immediately were
That's gone mad.
silenced.
That's
It is
not
that.
X-Men.
It is this huge.
You
Not
can't
X-Men.
Huge
use
cry
another
of
universe
death.
to try to
Can't-
explain.
yeah, you
Telepathy,
can't
man.
franchise.
Telepathy,
No,
dog.
no. The Force.
Xavier
franchise.
is super powerful, super telepathic. He felt his
Yeah.
children die. He even
Uh-huh,
says it. They were out. They were drinking wine. They were dancing. They were making love.
Especially-
he felt that.
hold on,
He
is-
felt all those orgies.
Whoa.
That's a good one. Especially if you go back and rewatch the last episode of the original series. It's Magneto who helps him expand his power, so he's able to reach the queen of what's her name, and be able to call her and come back. So with that going on in the original series, it just felt like such a cop out that he just gets this vision out of nowhere, fucking 5,000 light years away.
He was on the astral plane.
I guess whatever. Anyways,
Yeah.
So you
So
have
that all happens.
yeah, that's half of the episode.
because
is
the other
Xavier.
half is Storm.
Yes,
and her
Storm.
and Forge, and the fact that she's having these mind trips with the adversary, which we find out is the owl
The
thing.
revelation that he was responsible for the technology that took away Storm's powers was also pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like
that hurt.
That added
So-
more to it, man.
Yeah, and he's trying to build this machine to try to give her powers back. And he builds the machine, he puts her in there, does the whole thing, but nothing happens. She doesn't get her powers back. And then the rest of the episode is spent with this owl demon thing.
Very weird.
Who is the adversary? Who is that?
It's a villain.
Yeah, but is it,
Honestly, I thought it was going to
does
be
he have
Shadow
any-
King at first, because there's the Storm does have a huge connection to Shadow King in the comics, and it's like they almost went in that direction, but decided to save that for later, and they went with the adversary instead. Which was manifested within her claustrophobia and things of that nature that we
Yeah.
got to see. Yeah.
Yeah, you have this whole struggle with her and the adversary, this owl demon thing, and there's some cool back and forth going on here. This is another one of my criticisms here, which is one of the things I don't like about superhero TV shows and movies is that when something eventful happens, like Storm losing their powers, there's never this feeling of like this is final.
Yeah.
And it's just, and it when things like this happen, I really felt like her getting her powers back was kind of cheap, in the sense that she gets her powers back just because of willpower. I don't know. I don't know what exactly happens that really she defeats her adversary, right? Which is really, I guess, like a part
You
of her.
realize that it's mental too, man.
But it's not though. It's a fucking gun that shot and
I didn't
put
realize you were
radio-
such an expert.
radioactive. No, it's what the TV series is giving you. The TV series is saying that
Why is your
this,
voice so high, Sam?
because this is how I this is just how I talk. the radioactivity.
Hoop is falling asleep.
I am legitimately fucking. I'm listening.
Can I slap
I'm
you?
listening. Yeah,
Can I slap
go
you?
for it.
It is 2:01 a.m.
The
right now.
radioactivity of the gun from from the Executioner is what causes her for mutant powers to go away. And there's nothing that happens within this whole, back and forth between her and the adversary
Wait,
that
Storm
brings
is
her
a
back.
mutant?
Yeah. And then Storm
Fuck, we have so much to talk about.
Storm defeats the adversary and then just gets her powers back, switches her fucking uniform out of nowhere. I didn't know she had the power to change clothing.
They always carry a backup. Always
No,
carry
she just
a
does this whole
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh, I'm back, baby. And it's
she
just,
slayed. She slayed. You do you, queen.
it's just it was such a cheap cop out. Like it felt unearned. That whole her getting her powers, and it just made the whole.
It was totally earned on my point of view because
No,
it felt
Arturo.
awesome. I was with her struggle the whole time. I cried when she cried.
Why did
And
she
the
get her
fact
powers
that
back?
Forge
Explain why did she get her powers back?
Plot
Why?
convenience.
Plot convenience. Thank you. Thank you.
Because
Which
the
is bad
story
writing.
determined it. No, I thought it was great. And then this puts her back in the intros, by the way, from here on out.
Yeah, it
She was
does.
missing.
And with the new uniform, with her old uniform.
Which, by the way, I liked the quick segue, like that we slowly got the newer uniforms for some of the characters. We see Wolverine adopt his brown and tan towards the end of it. Jubilee also adopts a black outfit, which is actually her vampire outfit from the comics.
Wait, I never saw Jubilee in a black outfit.
Yeah, she wears black towards the end of it.
No way.
She still has the same jacket, but her bodysuit is now black.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
So it was just cool seeing like these little things. Rogue gets a new costume as well.
well, they all go back to like their old costumes, right? Yeah.
Cyclops and Jean go back to their original costumes, but everyone else.
I
gets
will
these
say
little-
I like that Cyclops had like the full
the condom.
head. Sure. Yeah.
That's what a lot of people
Wasn't
refer
gonna
to
call it
too.
that, but yeah, the cap, the bodysuit cap. I like that outfit for him.
What did you expect? Black leather?
I love that reference. That was such a callback.
What
So
a nice.
in the X-Men
Nice
movie
callback.
2000, you may or may not see this on the screen, but we have Wolverine complain about the leather outfits, and Cyclops says, "What would you prefer? Yellow spandex," in reference to the comics and cartoons. And now we got the flip of it,
Love it.
with like all the stretchy costumes. Like,
Love
what would you
it.
prefer? Black
Love it.
leather.
So
And moving on to episode 7.
yes, the Bright Eyes. It's called. Yes, this is
Bright
actually.
Eyes. That's the consequences.
Is that the title of the episode?
Yeah.
Yes, it's the
Yeah.
title of the
Bright Eyes.
episode.
Yep.
Thank you.
And this is the
it
direct
is.
follow-up episode of the
Episode
Gambit,
6?
the Gambit death.
Yes.
Well, Gambit
episode
Death was
7.
episode 5.
Yes,
Right,
but episode
yes.
6, if you remember,
That is correct.
goes into
bit
a
off.
storm
Yeah.
and all her thing, which we just
We're-
talked
yes, and we're now catching up
a
on the
few minutes
events.
ago.
yeah, a
of
few
episode.
minutes
Please,
ago.
please
Yeah.
ignore our new outfits. There's
yes.
This is my.
no
I
reason
don't know
why
what
we
you're talking
changed.
about.
There's no reason
Yeah.
why that happened at all. So yes, here in this episode, Rogue is on the rampage.
She is going berserker
And
mode.
holy shit, like this episode and this show, how much it's done to showcase Rogue's power set and her overall abilities has been fucking impressive.
I feel
man.
like everyone's.
yes.
I feel like everyone is on
Oh,
that
dude,
same boat, which
100%.
is.
But in particular, I just want to point out because Rogue was very, very nerfed in the movies.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, you're
Her
comparing this to
her,
the movies.
Her
Yeah.
characterization.
Yeah.
Hold on, Anna Paquin did a great job with what she was given.
Yeah.
But like there was so much missing to Rogue,
Yeah.
and the fact that we got her fully fleshed out within this episode,
Yeah.
and the fact that it's the same voice actress from the '90s, and she's fucking awesome. It was so much to this, and it paid off so well. I mean, because I mean, for everyone, you'd be in a very dark place having
Yeah, and that's
having
clearly
your
where
love,
Rogue is.
your love die
And
in front of you.
She ends up
like
going
that.
to Captain America.
Well, no,
Captain
she
America
doesn't go to
No,
him.
well, it's true.
She's on a search for Oliver Trask.
She ends up crossing
That's
paths with him.
She ends up going to a
Correct.
location after
Is it
making
Oliver
a few
or
dots.
Bolivar?
Bolivar.
That's what I said.
Okay, you said Oliver.
I don't believe.
I think
you.
I've been saying Oliver this whole time, and nobody has caught me.
It's
but I-
Oliver.
I
With
caught
Oliver.
you.
Bolivar Trask.
Bolivar.
I realized within this past like 5 minutes that I've been saying that wrong. It took a change of
Yeah.
clothes for me to realize that.
Yeah, that's what
yeah.
happens.
Again, there's no reason for it.
No reason for it.
So she
Anyway,
runs into Captain America, and she fucking actually handles. She makes Captain America look kind of weak, man. She's clearly after fucking Bolivar, and Captain America's all like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, let's chill. We're already on. Check out this base underneath this cabin here in the mountains."
Yes.
That's what she said.
Correct.
Remember? Like he pulls the lever, and the fucking elevator opens up, and she gets upset, and then she just fucking yeets his shield halfway across the fucking
Yeets?
mountains That's what the kids say nowadays.
Use it correct though.
I used
it correctly.
There you go.
You were using Riz earlier in other places, and it was not. It was.
I still
it was
am not
terrible.
quite sure what Riz means, but I guess I'll just have to Riz about it. What I'm trying to say is Rogue yeets fucking Captain America's shield halfway across the mountain,
Yes.
and she continues on her path. She is dead fucking bad. And this episode, by the way, has a lot of cameos.
Yes.
It starts off with Captain America, and then she eventually finds the base where either they were keeping Bolivar Trask or they were going to transfer him. And there's a specific general there
do we see?
who's like, you guys are worrying about nothing. This place was made to keep the Hulk in here. And then Rogue just fucking smashes through, and it's General Ross.
Yes, it was.
It's General Ross, who we all know from the Hulk movies. And is it the same voice actor?
I don't know
It
if it's
sounded
the
a lot
same.
like him.
It's the
It's
same one,
not.
but
It's not.
For those
He's dead. Wow, what a downer.
comic book readers out there,
Uh-huh.
who is also Thunderbolt Ross,
Oh, okay.
the Red Hulk.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't. they're not gonna
Spoiler
touch on that.
alerts for non-nerds, I guess.
Anyway,
Comic book readers.
yeah. Normal
She
people.
goes and she
Yes.
beats up a bunch of tanks and
She
everything
beats
like
a bunch
that.
of
And it's
people.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, she's trying to find Bolivar, and she finds him. Right? Is it in the same sequence that she finds him?
She finds him in this episode.
In Mexico City, by the way. You see a lot of cool.
Hey.
Did you see a lot
Yeah,
of Independencia?
Yeah, and I
scene.
recognized the taco people.
Yeah, there's a taquero. I think I saw my uncle driving in one of the scenes. I was like, hey, that is my tío. What the fuck? Yeah.
There and the Distrito Federal.
Yeah. Fueron para la Avenida Benito Juárez. Yeah, but she finds out that they're keeping Bolivar Trask in this prison
Yes.
in Mexico City. And she shows up, and it's a fucking lavish, very low security compound where he's got like fucking records and music, and he's living it up. And Rogue does not like that one bit.
Fuck no.
And
No.
she confronts fucking Bolivar Trask, and then I forget what happens after that.
She holds him off the side of the fucking building.
No,
doesn't
that happens
doesn't-
a little
that doesn't
later.
happen until later.
it? Well, then
I think from there it goes to what the X-Men
then
are doing.
fine. Get to that point. Then I was already going. Like,
So
you
there's
didn't say
some
when,
side
how
stories.
much later.
Oh, it cuts to Gambit's funeral. We're missing that. Yeah.
that's at the
Oh,
beginning.
yeah.
That's at the beginning of the
At
episode.
Okay,
episode,
yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning of the
It is,
episode. Well, we end up. What happens also
So,
in this
like,
episode, I
it-
believe, is the villain gets introduced. Past
Bastion. Well, real quick on Gambit's funeral, if I may.
You may.
You may.
Thank you. It was so sad because it felt like a sense of finality. Because, like, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who was like desperately hoping for some sort of reversal, some sort of cable switching back the gears of time, the Watcher getting involved to bring back
Damn.
Gambit.
You really didn't want Gambit to die, man.
No, he's one of my favorite characters, man.
Yeah.
So
Nah.
the fact that they had a funeral for him just felt, even though as a comic book fan, we all know how like death is non-sequential sometimes, it still felt very heavy.
Yeah.
And it's still very, very like, fuck, man. Like this is actually happening. You know?
Yeah.
And that grief, that loss, like, you know, really does become a catalyst for this episode.
To the characters in the show, yeah.
They
I
do
will
it.
say.
They do it justice, and
Yes.
that's part of the as the show gets better here after Gambit's
I
death.
agree. I agree. This is where it kind of starts picking up.
Considering the 6th episode is, we don't really. We talked about it earlier that we didn't
I
like the
love this
Xavier
whole
coming
show.
back, but yes, you get this whole sort of reaction with Rogue and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and fast forwarding a bit with this whole thing with Trask and what happens with him and the lengths that Rogue's revenge gets to is that she meant to murder Trask, right?
Yeah.
She had
Yeah.
gotten
She
to a
did.
point, and the
She did.
X-Men were like, "What are you doing? All that stuff,
Yeah.
and you shouldn't be doing this." And she's just like, "Fuck everything," and lets him go.
Yeah.
And then that's when things just completely change.
That's
from
when,
there.
that's when the twist comes, which is where you find out that Bolivar Trask is actually
Some sort of humanoid
fucking-
sentinel.
future humanoid sentinel.
Yes.
And he fucking handles the X-Men very quickly.
I don't
man.
know if my head exploded. It was more like, what's going on now?
Yeah.
Like,
Humans are
what?
sentinels? Yeah.
I mean, he
was
ends
a
up
lot.
kicking the X-Men's ass.
He does. He
For a
hands it to
bit.
them. for a bit.
And then I believe the Cable comes along. I believe.
Yes, this is where Cable shows up.
Cable
Cable wasn't
shows
there
up.
yet. And immediately they put two and two together. I think it's Gene first who looks into his eyes.
Well, speaking of Gene,
No, this happened earlier. Oh, yeah, Gene. Yeah, this is the other Gene,
Well,
the
the
clone.
one.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gene as a whole, I don't know if you guys noticed at this point. Now that Jean Grey is Jean Grey, she's wearing her hair up in a ponytail again.
You brought this up earlier.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just a few minutes ago, you brought it
That's
up.
not like
Before we changed her outfit, never mind.
maybe 10 to
I
maybe
sobered
10
up.
to
I
20
think
minutes ago.
I think our roles got reversed. I think the drunk that I was just a few minutes ago transferred over to you.
I think
and
so.
you're sober transferred
It must
over
have
to
happened
me.
off screen. I don't know what happened.
Wild.
But I am wearing an X-Men shirt. Woo, Jim Lee.
Yeah. I like it.
Thank you, man.
Any thoughts on this Sentinel twist?
It ends with
I thought it
well,
was.
on the
yeah.
Sentinel twist.
I thought it was really fitting, honestly, because the very first episode of this show as a whole, within the 90s version, I should say, starts off with Sentinels.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the fact that we're going back in a full circle kind of moment to the villains still being Sentinels, still being humans, trying to eradicate humans.
think
I mean, they're
one
not
of- one
really
of the
Sentinels.
lines-
They're
Whoa,
like
we're
they're like
getting
weird
there.
zombie Sentinel things.
See, that's what's funny.
Within reason. Yeah.
Is that
because
one of the friends of humanity in the first episode, one of the first lines says, "What you didn't think that we would find a way to evolve as well." And this is clearly a way of them evolving the Sentinel.
to an extent, yes.
Involving humans.
It's the humans evolved from humans to mutants with superpowers. Well, now they made it
Because
so
the
that
branches
the
went
Sentinels,
like this.
yeah, there you go. Just like the opening sequence of every X-Men movie in 1990s.
Mutation. It's what allowed us to evolve from a
Yep.
single-celled organism into the dominant species of the planet. But every few hundred millennia.
Yes. Okay.
evolution
Okay.
expanded.
All right.
That's exactly what they're trying to portray here with the Sentinels evolving to
Yes.
this new form that I'm guessing, Sam, you're not fully on board with.
It's
Is it
so
too- I get where you're
when
coming
it got
from. It just seems
introduced,
too easy.
It got introduced. It was kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, what is this? And then
This was never mentioned.
going into Bastion, which is something we need to talk about, and it's
Yeah.
kind of
Yes.
it goes into the next episode where we kind of get a 3-parter from here on out, right? 8, 9, and 10 are all
Correct.
They're all
Yeah.
connected.
the same. It's what is the name of the episodes? I believe
Something extinction.
No, Tolerance is Extinction. There
There
you
you
go.
go. We were
Tolerance
both
is
right.
Extinction Part 1 and 2 and 3. And I think Bastion as a villain is probably the best part of the entire series. I think he's a really good villain. I love his like philosophical sort of monologues that he has throughout these last 3 parts, and sort of his motivation. You know, he had this sort of telekinetic connection with machines.
Technopathic, if you will.
Technopathic. Thank you, Arturo.
very
Thank you for the right terminology.
Clear.
Yeah, and you know he has the mother who doesn't want to sort of accept that he's a mutant or anything like that, but maybe has like some other condition or whatever, and that it all goes back to that and that motivation that he has stemming from his mother. I believe his mother, something happens with his
She took him to Charles's school to try out.
So Charles came
Yes,
through.
that's right.
Yeah, and she basically like kept him
but
away.
the mom was like, no.
And the
I
mom
don't
was
want
like,
him
no,
to
no,
see
no,
it."
no,
He could have technically been one of the first
Yeah.
X-Men. And
Yes.
there's a
And
lot
it
of
was the
references to
mom.
that later on.
Which
he
you
could have been
can't-
here in this picture
Yeah.
with the rest of them.
You can't blame her because
No.
it's like, it's my son. I don't. You run a school for.
I mean, it's one of those very specific situations where it's like, you know, you can see the perspective. Whether or not you agree on it is another
Yeah.
point. But you see kind of where they're coming
you
from.
see where they're coming from. That's what makes
Yeah,
it good.
and that's
Is
what-
it makes
yeah.
it believable.
And
You're like,
it-
okay, I understand their
it
motives.
really is, and that's
It's not
why-
like he changed the name of my technology and now I'm pissed.
Yes, and I feel like those are the best kind of villains when, from their perspective, they're not the villain.
Yeah.
You know, they're just trying to do something
because you
for-
relate to them and you're like, yeah, I kind of see where you're
Like,
coming from,
You
Magnus.
don't, yeah. Like, I don't know if I do it, but I
Yeah.
see how that led you here.
And that's
You know, and
definitely
that's important.
definitely Bastion.
Yeah,
and it's
definitely.
Magneto as well.
Yeah,
or
dude, and Magnus.
Magnus.
Speaking of Magneto,
Magneto was right.
Magneto ends up being alive.
Yes,
Call him
yes.
No
Magnus.
explanation is given whatsoever.
Yeah, that's the spoiler at the end of episode
well,
6.
I mean, he is Magneto.
Well,
A highly
somehow
involved mutant. who's
somehow
kind of a
Leech
badass.
Leech gets like incinerated, who was under him,
yeah.
who he was protecting, but he's totally fine and he's like, you know, alive and
Magneto's
whatever.
an Omega level mutant.
I'm
This is
sorry.
true.
Thank you. He's a level 5 category as they use.
And poor Leech is what level?
Barely.
He might be a 2. Might be a 2.
Yeah.
The only thing that made is because of the fact that he can like sense other humans. I mean, other
bullshit.
mutants. And the energy thing.
No,
Anyways,
it's
on top of Magnus being alive, that I believe at the end is at the end of episode 7 or is it the beginning of episode 8? I'm not sure, but Professor X gets back.
Charles.
Yes.
Charles, you're a fool, Charles.
Charles
Logan.
Xavier.
Yeah, Charles Xavier gets
Logan.
back. He takes his whatever ship and manages to fall, perfectly on time to like, hey, I'm
To
back.
me, my X-Men.
And
He does do
everybody's
that.
like,
He
oh,
did that
great,
at
you're
the end of
back.
the episode.
Great, you're
I
back.
really enjoyed that part. Look, it's because while he was back on Alien Planet, living it up, he had that dream. He had that vision of shit. going
Dude, that
south.
was so well done. When he's in the
So-
when he was in the classroom schooling everybody,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden he sees Gambit's fucking skeleton,
and
dude.
like, he even says it like, my children are dying, and the
They were
children of the
just
atom
dancing, they were singing, they were making
dancing,
love.
and now they're dying. That absolutely, I understand why it
fuck,
drove
man.
him to be like, fuck all this shit. I'm
Yep,
a horrible
yep.
professor
I'm a
and
horrible
father.
dad. Yeah.
For leaving my children thinking they can fend on
And
their
as
own.
fathers that were all here, I think
Yeah.
we can all relate.
I sort of. None of my kids have mutant powers, but if they did, I would understand exactly where they're coming from.
My son has mutant power.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't expel.
What's his
The
power?
rage of
I can't-
Wolverine.
Yeah.
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 That's
He-
Jacob.
he
He
heals
have
by-
the claws?
Yeah, that's
The rage
Jacob.
of Wolverine.
Yeah, the redhead gives
and
him
then,
that rage.
yeah. And,
Is he a
anyways.
phoenix, maybe?
What?
Is he a phoenix? Red hair?
No, my redhead is clearly a mutant. I mean, he has red head. It's
Yeah.
like it's a mutation.
It's already a
Anyways,
mutation of the gene.
going on to the episode.
Groovy mutation.
So Bastion's whole thing is
First
that
class reference.
he's going to this he's got this fucking
Facility?
facility that's
welcome.
that is turning humans into sentinels somehow with some sort of chemicals. It's not really explained again. There's a lot that this is my problem with the season throughout the
Chemdrops. Chemtrails.
and you can just I mean tell me if I'm
Chemtrails.
wrong. I mean there's so much that is the story is saying just accept it. This is what it is, and don't try to like question how this could work in any way. Like how the fuck are the humans
see, that's the
being
thing.
like turned into machines?
You have to remember that.
How
this
is it
still-
that he does it in such a quick fashion? Because first it's the Genosha thing that happens, and it's not until after the Genosha thing happens that he starts getting people to come over and apparently voluntarily, suscept themselves
up,
to this
yeah.
whole dip thing that is going on or whatever. And then they go back into the regular world and they're just like, living their normal life, waiting
Yep.
until that moment, I guess,
But
that
do they
fucking
know-
Bastion
do
says,
they know that they
execute
volunteered?
order
Order
66 or
66.
something like that.
Yeah.
Star Wars
Because
reference.
that's kind of like what happens in the show.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like he somehow
did.
dipped all these humans or whatever in this small span of time. All these people apparently volunteered. They came to him. It was like, and then he just, all right, go back into your society,
Yeah.
do your normal life, and then just wait for my order whenever
wait.
the fuck that happens. And then it's just like all at once, everybody just starts turning like, oh, we got order 66 now.
There's people, if I remember correctly, there's people where it's like just the husband turns into the
Yeah.
sentinel and not the wife or the kid, and you're like, how did you sneak away from your family for that long to get that procedure done,
And then
without
come
them
back?
asking any questions?
Yeah, exactly.
You have to have been gone for at least 2 to 3 days.
There's a lot here that again is just like just accept it. And
Sam, I
it
was
bothered
begging-
me throughout the entire season. It
But
bothered
see,
me.
Sam, you have to also remember that this is
I
based
know
on
it's
the
a fucking
1990s cartoon.
I know
They
it's a
couldn't
cartoon.
just suddenly be like, now we have to explain all this in
and use
detail.
logic.
And use logic.
Yeah.
When back then, clearly,
Hold on,
they did
hold
not
on.
have logic
but
in mind.
the reason why I'm more critical about this season than I am about the older episodes is because
You're
they
older.
are clearly trying to do an older sort of more adult,
Yeah.
a little bit, trying to
mixture.
separate themselves from that 90s sort of anything goes kind of, cartoon
Yeah.
series. This is more of an adult
Which I
series
feel like it was
that
a
just
good
happens
balance.
to be animated.
True, but I feel like considering what it used to be, they could have also gone way more on the
Yeah,
just stretch your imagination.
I'm just saying.
It could have been way off the deep end.
There
Way
were times where like, I said, like, okay, it's a cartoon, let it go. But there are certain, it became excessive
Let it go.
to a point where I was
Let
just
it
like,
go.
come on, like, you got to give more here. You got to give a little bit more.
So do you
this
feel like
is-
they gave more as the episodes kept going, though?
I felt they got better as the season progressed. I
So
think
now-
the last 3 episodes were really good. This whole part 3 series was pretty good.
And I remember you actually directly texting us during
Yes.
that time frame.
It was before I saw the last 3 episodes.
No, I agree. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
that's
Yeah,
exactly
and
when you
that was
texted us.
a critical one for
So
you.
let's now move on to the last of
Yes.
the, what is it, 2 episodes now? We've gone
That's
over
3.
6 and 7.
So now we're at 8, 9, 10.
So 8, 9, 10.
I mean, we've been kind of like going back
Yeah,
and forth
we
between
A little
have
bit,
been.
yeah. But I think this really, like I said, like this finale was kind of split into 3 episodes,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 3 episodes. Yeah.
and every episode has left us with a cliffhanger. And where we're seeing ourselves come at this point, like there's just so much that's just happened. Everything's been leading up to Bastion, and we're getting this whole like backstory and what's involved and how the Sentinels are like at the preface of everything all over again. And now Xavier's back, and also Magneto,
Yes.
because that was a big thing that kept. It was, I believe, it was the episode. Was
Yeah.
it 8?
Yeah.
Where, because again, I didn't have notes at this point because life got busier, but I do believe it was 8 where when Professor Xavier was within Magneto's mind.
Yes. No.
No,
It was
no,
at
no,
eight.
no, no,
Eight-
no, no.
Am I jumping
8 was
ahead?
more of the like.
That Magneto and Xavier
That
gets
didn't
into
happen
Magneto's
till
mind in the last
9.
episode, at the beginning of the
End
last
of-
episode.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
End
correct.
of 9.
Thank you. It's
End
thank
of
you
9
for
because
refreshing my
at
mind.
10 ends, they're already in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
9 ends with
With Wolverine
yeah.
stabs. So before all of that,
Yes.
we're
Let's go back.
skipping
Oh,
over
shit,
some
we
stuff.
Are, we are. Let's go
We're
back to 8.
skipping over
Let's go
some
back to
stuff
8. Let's
here.
go back to 8.
Yes.
What happens in episode 8?
Bastion does is
Don't have my notes again.
his whole the Sentinels go and they start attacking the
And you
world
get
and bringing down
cameo
the mutants.
galore.
Yeah, you get Iron Man, you get Iron Man, and you get
Doctor
Black
Strange.
Panther, Doctor
He's
Strange,
doing
yes,
surgery.
all kinds
Yeah.
of cameos.
We see Peter Parker
Daredevil.
and Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Daredevil had a lot.
Daredevil
He had a
a
lot
lot.
of
He
sequences.
even had words.
Yes,
Yeah,
he did.
he had
a
words
he had
that
a
he
one
said.
line or two.
Yeah.
There was a lot of cameos in this for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, even, I'm
you
sure
also
I'm-
find out that one lady, what was her name? The lady had been kind of working
The
with
UN, yes,
Bastion.
Dr. Cooper. Holy shit, that's
Oh, yeah.
right.
She's been
Yeah.
working with Bastion, but she's starting to get second thoughts now.
Yes.
She sees Magnus, and she's the one who actually releases
Yes, she does.
Magneto to be able to go and stop everything. He
Mm-hmm.
goes into, I believe, the North Pole, whatever the fuck, or goes into the air. I forget.
Well,
what he
yeah,
goes-
because he shifts fucking Earth's fucking axis. Which, by
no,
the way,
he doesn't. He stops
he was
the
about to say,
magnet,
yeah.
the Earth's magnetic field.
so
He stops Earth's
I
magnetic
I
field
lost my
to
sh-
stop
hold
all the
on.
Sentinels.
Yeah.
Yes. And I lost my shit when this happened because as a comic book reader, hello, I am one. If you guys haven't noticed. But anyway, this is something he did in the Ultimate Universe, in the Ultimate Marvelverse, in the comics, where he literally shifted Earth's axis because of his magnetic powers. And he was able to that's how fucking powerful he is.
Yeah.
And we don't always put it at the same face value as how powerful
Yeah, the movies
he
have
fucking is.
the movies have definitely nerfed it for
Like,
good reason. 'Cause how would you write that?
The performances between Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender have been amazing, but his power set has been nerfed because
Yeah.
of how much he's actually capable of doing. So when he was fucking pulling all this shit with magnetic fields on the planet fucking Earth, I'm like, holy
Yeah.
shit, this is directly adapted. And I've mentioned it in this episode and the one prior, but just seeing all these things happen that are directly ripped from the comics and just adapted so well within this world is fucking incredible to me as a fan on so many fucking levels. And Magneto is so fleshed out and so well done in this series. But yes, going back to
The story.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you, Arturo.
so then
You're
so then
welcome.
Magneto goes and stops the magnetic field, which
Yes.
basically blacks out the Earth, and the
And it
Sentinels
works.
can't
It
work
works
anymore.
'cause
It
the
works.
Sentinels
It
can't
works.
work,
But the problem is, Earth is basically going to, die without its magnetic field.
getting blasted with fucking radiation from the sun.
Whoa, yeah. There's all kinds of problems. That magnetic field does a lot if you know your physics, which
Yeah.
I do not. But so then the X-Men turn
1
their
+ 1
turn their
= 2.
gaze towards Magneto, and basically we have to convince Magneto to
bring back the magnetic field. And I believe they separate.
Team
One
A,
group
Team
one
B.
group goes to get Bastion because Bastion is still a problem, and he somehow connected himself or something to become a battery for like the regular Sentinels and everything like that. And then another team with Xavier, Wolverine, and I forget who else. They go to find Magneto, who is in another kind of like asteroid thing again, like back from the original series, if you remember.
Asteroid M.
Yeah.
Thank
Another
you, Ule.
Asteroid M. Thank you. Yes.
Asteroid M.
That was a nice little over the head.
That was a very soft high five.
Your side was half. I kind of didn't.
So
So,
the groups that go is in the blue Cyclops blue team, we have Cyclops obviously.
Nightcrawler.
We got Wolverine, Nightcrawler. Thank you, producer.
Professor X.
Professor X, yes, and Rogue, I believe, is in that team.
Yeah.
Correct. And then the other team is Beast, Storm, yes, Forge, Jean. Yes, that's correct, Jean. And I think that's it. Is that it? Are we missing anybody? Oh no, Cable.
Thank you.
Cable. Yes, thank you.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
And what happens?
We find out Sinister's involved.
Sinister is involved.
And he takes over Cable.
Yes, he does.
And he fights Jean. And we find out that Cable isn't just this jacked cybernetic arm muscle dude with guns. He's also a telepath.
Yeah. Yes.
And telekinetic.
yes.
And he directly mentions that the psychic powers do not skip a generation because his mom, Madeline Pryor, a.k.a. the Goblin Queen, was a fucking badass. And therefore, he also has this powerful skill set. And he takes on Jean Grey.
Yeah. And it's a pretty...
It's brutal.
It's a battle in
the
which
minds,
actually
of the wits.
I believe Cable ends up winning.
And he disintegrates Jean.
Yeah, sort of.
But
Like with all comic book
the
movies.
Phoenix Force shows up.
Yeah. Somehow the Phoenix Force shows up.
But that part did make me like get really emotional. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
The part where she dies or the Phoenix part?
That part where she dies.
But again, it's like,
she only there for an episode though.
yeah.
That's fine,
yeah.
man. That's fine.
So before that, you get some moments. There's the attack, and the Sentinels are attacking the
And before this,
X-Men.
we get a telepathic report, right? Between Cyclops, Jean, and Cable.
Oh yeah, they talk about how their minds
they go into
are
a
linked.
diner or something.
Yeah, and Cyclops. A grown-up Cable talks about how he would always hear these adventures of the X-Men, and he would always just wanted to be part of them because he was their son, and he always heard these stories of what his parents were up to and the rest of the X-Men and the future that he was a part of. But he wasn't there.
I enjoyed that whole
That was
time.
very emotional.
Yeah,
That was a good scene.
It was
That
a
was a
really
good
good scene.
scene.
it was fine.
And
Yeah.
as fathers with children, I
Yeah.
feel like it was very emotional for all of us.
I feel like your bar for anything that has to do with father and kids is way lower than mine, man.
Your barf?
Your bar,
Oh, bar.
like
I
if
heard
you're like,
barf too.
Two.
Really?
Noel, what about you? You heard barf, right? Thank you.
Damn, maybe I did say barf. I feel like your bar is like obviously I'm a sucker for anything like father-son related. Yeah. But if it's like an AT&T commercial where a father is buying his son a cell phone, I'm not like, oh man, that was dad buying his kid a cell phone. That was so touching. So I didn't really see anything with the Cable and the dad is Cyclops and he's coming back. I was like, oh, that's a cool little twist there. I wonder what they're gonna do with it. It wasn't that much, at least for me. I don't know if you.
I mean,
Sam?
if my son got sent into the future and I didn't see him for a minute and he came back as an old man with a cybernetic arm and psychic powers, I think I'd be right there.
I'd probably be more like, what the fuck is my life?
Yeah.
I don't think I'd even be sentimental. I'd just be like, what the fuck is happening?
I think Arturo put it really well.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
You
in
really
those
got me to
circumstances.
understand the situation. Yeah.
In those exact circumstances, anyway.
Anyways,
For the two of you still watching,
now going back to
yes.
Magneto, this is where the episode 9 ends.
Magnus.
So at some point, though, I saw Noel, a producer. I don't know if it's going to make it on the screen because our producer chooses what goes back there. But we got all those references to Days of Future Past, where we saw somewhere slain, somewhere MIA, somewhere who knows.
Oh, like a quick computer.
No, it was a
Screen.
poster.
Oh, okay.
Everyone's faces are on it.
Got it.
I don't know if that's what I'm rubbing on the green screen right now, but I
no
just saw
idea
it on the
what
screen
you're
over
saying.
there. But yes, go ahead.
Okay, so going back to Magneto as episode 9 ends, we have this scene where Wolverine catches Magneto by
Yes,
surprise
and
and
stabs
stabs
him
him
from
with
behind.
the claws. He goes, there's blood and everything. There's
So,
blood.
and episode 9
okay.
ends
And then
with Magneto
Magneto
ripping the adamantium from a skeleton.
Yes.
Echoing the
Yeah.
comic books.
I'm
And
sorry.
holy shit.
I will say, if I must, at the end of episode 9, if that's the episode where Wolverine manages to sneak his
Yes.
before any of that happens
Yes.
with Bastion dying at the hands of the Phoenix, we see that Wolverine it's getting down to the final point where if Magnus doesn't undo what he did, Earth is done. So that's the urgency that we experience at the end of episode 9, which is we have 12 hours to undo what Magnus did before the radiation and the orbit and everything else just goes to shit. So it gets to the point where Wolverine figures, this is my fucking opportunity. I'm sorry, but it's down to the last minute. I need to kill this motherfucker so that it can stop what he's doing and the whole shit will be saved. So he takes that risk. He finds the moment of weakness. He fucking gets it, and he gets a good claw in there. Magnus...
And what does he say?
Fuck you, motherfucker! I don't remember. What did he say?
The brave are the first to die.
The brave
Oh.
are the first to die. Beautiful. I wish I hadn't made that fucking joke because it would have been it would have hit even harder. But
I would have liked you, fuck you,
beautiful
motherfucker, better, to be honest.
Fuck you, motherfucker!
Fuck you.
It's the last time you stabbed me.
Why is his voice so high?
I don't
should've been
know.
like,
You're adrenaline of
Magnetize these, motherfucker.
But the stab that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But the stab manages to fucking undo what's happening. Everything goes back to normal. But Magnus, in his final breath, or in his
Not really, I mean,
not
it's-
even.
Fucking
But in his
Magneto
act, yeah.
doesn't die.
It's like, God damn it! I told you not to stab me, you son of a bitch. Take this. So he fucking just takes all the adamantium out of fucking Logan,
and it's
visualized.
Yeah. Just like the comic
exactly.
book.
Yep.
Holy shit. I mean, if our producer chooses to, you can see right here, right next to each other, how
We don't
accurate
deserve
it
that.
is.
We have not. We don't deserve.
Oh, there it is.
mirroring
Oh,
and-
shit, look at that.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect timing.
It looks liquidy. Very liquidy.
Yeah, it was done so fucking. Look at that. Look
and
at
like
that. It was done
Charles-
so well.
As this is happening, Charles Xavier, all the other X-Men are there witnessing this on the
Ta-da.
beach. And they're like, Professor X is, Logan, no. And he's yelling, Magnus, stop. And he, in his act of desperation, he taps into Magnus's mind. He's like, all right, I fucking swore I
So-
would never do this. I'm fucking going in there. What is it, Arturo?
I was gonna say I don't know if the screen is gonna be showing Uble. Noel, would this be on the behind us?
Sure.
We'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
So we just saw an image of Onslaught. I thought that's where this episode was going. Sorry, the ending of the series was gonna be that cliffhanger. It's not.
No.
We'll wait on that for season 2. Ooh. But yes, this end with the adamantium being ripped out of Wolverine and him
Ripped
being
out of
put,
Wolverine.
honestly putting out of commission for the final episode.
Well, we find that out
So,
later.
and-
Let's go in order
and-
because I know Noel's going to be upset if we don't
Yeah,
go in
yeah.
order.
So let's move into episode 10.
So this episode
Wait,
ends.
can I just say something?
Yeah, yeah.
So he gets Magneto gets stabbed, and that actually hurts him. But then the fucking the goddamn
Sam.
the thing that he gets incinerated, but nothing. He has like no marks whatsoever. I'm
Sam.
just
When
sad
does he
to
get
wanna say
incinerated?
that.
Sam,
Well, when he fucking trying
Sam,
to protect Leech,
if I may,
yeah,
are
he's
you the master of magnetism?
no.
Do you know what it's like,
And to be shot by a sentinel
Yes.
beam or whatever the fuck? No, I guess not.
or stabbed with adamantium claws?
No,
If I may
no.
play devil's advocate as I always do.
He doesn't need it.
Arturo, I get where you're coming
How
from.
often do you get along with the devil?
Oh,
No
dude, we talk all the time.
It's just there's so many
He
goddamn
gives me both
exceptions,
sides.
double
The thing is
standards.
that- no,
It's
you're not
all of this
wrong. You're not
goddamn
wrong.
superhero shit is always double.
You're not wrong.
Magneto is an Omega level mutant.
Yeah, he's an Omega level mutant. Yeah, the Cyclops is dancing. He's an Omega level mutant. He can survive a fucking Sentinel beam with not a
He
scratch
is
on him.
fucking Gandalf.
But fucking adamantium claws, and it's like, oh, put some bandages on me, man. I don't think I can handle this shit.
The way I
It's
see
fucking
it, Sam,
bullshit.
Sam,
God damn it.
the way I see it is as far as mutants go, and you can call it controversial if you want. I feel like it's just like a muscle, right? So if I tell you, Sam, I'm gonna hit you here on your arm, you know it's coming. You focus your energy. You clench that muscle and you prepare for it. Therefore, the impact is not as strong. If I don't tell you and I hit you, then you weren't focused. You were not intending that. So just like a superhero who might have powers, if they need to kind of focus on that at least to some point. So if he's not paying attention to someone coming behind him and clawing him, then maybe he doesn't have that full capacity to immediately just stop those claws from coming and stabbing him. So it could have been actual damage. You're talking about the damage from the fucking Sentinel, but he knew that shit was coming. He knew to flex and prepare for it and block it. He didn't know Wolverine was behind him. He didn't know he was about to get stabbed, so that made him more susceptible. That made it accept it. Anyway,
we go into
episode 10.
And he's
Finally,
in
episode 10.
and he's in Magneto's mind. Right?
Yep.
Xavier.
They're at a bar.
So it's,
Magneto's mind.
It's very
Xavier.
reminiscent of
Xavier's in Magneto's mind.
Yes. And it's very reminiscent of X-Men First Class.
Yeah, I
the
like
film with James McAvoy and Michael
They're
Fassbender.
having a beer
They're having a beer.
Yep,
they're chatting.
yep.
They're having a chat.
in
having
some
a pint.
pub in like East Europe or something like that.
yes,
Not sure.
Because like there's definitely a huge, deeper level to their friendship.
Yes, they have a long history.
And this is a quick
And
glimpse.
he's basically trying to convince Magneto to bring back the Earth's magnetic field and whatnot.
Subtly, Inception style.
Yes,
Yes.
Inception
He's not.
style.
He doesn't start off with like Magnus in real life. You have to turn off your magnetic. He's talking to him as if it was back then.
Yes,
And about them not knowing about each other having superpowers.
Yes.
Which I thought was very interesting.
Yes, but Magneto doesn't fall for it. He realizes that, hey, you're in my
What's
fucking
going
mind.
on? Yep.
I'm not doing this
How
shit.
dare you?
So then Xavier goes all fucking like Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah.
some fucking crazy bullshit anime thing
Saiyan.
going on
Yeah.
here. And fucking goes like,
Yeah.
into his brain and
Yeah.
is trying to control. He's trying to control. He's trying to control him to actually just do the job.
Sam just laughed at whatever's happening back here.
No,
dude.
Noel puts all these
Yeah, I
things up
know,
here that
it's fucking
unfortunately he
random.
doesn't ever put up there anymore.
We look like idiots reacting to
Yeah,
something
and you don't
can't
know what
see.
you're
It's been
talking
the
about.
same stagnant image for the
Yes,
past hour.
Yes. Anyways, so he gets into his mind and he controls his mind and makes Magneto bring back the
This
magnetic
what we're
field.
seeing right now, hopefully.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
he's doing Super Saiyan or something. Anyways,
In doing so,
yeah, and in doing so, he brings back the magnetic field. But because when Xavier controls someone else's mind, you could get lost in that mind or something. Or
locked.
both
Yeah, you
minds
become
can get
locked.
lost and everything like that. So
You're
Magneto and Xavier end up being, kind of they get lost in each other's minds, lost in each other's eyes, and then. That's when we get into the Bastion conflict. Am I right, Noel?
Yes.
Thank you.
this
He's
is where
shaking.
we finally see an end to Bastion.
Yes.
The
And
other
he-
X-Men.
and he goes into his super version, whatever his updated version. I forget if there's some name to it.
Bastion 2.0.
Yeah, yeah.
3.0.
He
3.0.
grows a
3.0.
beard suddenly.
Yeah.
People just grow things
Beards,
and
yep.
change clothes. Just
It's evolution, Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Read a
amazing.
book.
It's truly
Yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah.
And then Sam chokes, and we continue.
And then there's a huge battle. We get a little bit more backstory of Bastion and what's going on with his family and why he is the way he
Mom.
is.
Yep.
Yes.
And
More
his-
cameos.
Yeah,
More-
within this final episode, we get cameos from everyone. We see Iron Man and Captain America with
Yep.
the President.
Yep.
We
protecting
see
the
Black
president.
Panther. We see Doctor Strange. We see a lot of
Which
Daredevil.
I like that they went with not T'Challa as Black Panther, but his dad. Or am I mixing those?
You're mixing those.
So they went with T'Challa as
T'Challa.
Black Panther.
T'Chaka was around during World War II.
There you go. Yeah.
They also did Cloak and Dagger.
Yes,
they did Cloak and Dagger.
Which,
yeah.
by the way, was a short-lived 2-season long show on Freeform / Hulu.
Omega Red.
Oh, they did
Yes,
Omega
we
Red.
saw
I
Omega Red as
remember
well.
seeing him.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of cameos in this.
And then in this episode is where we get Jean coming back from the dead. All
Yeah.
right, I believe
Yes.
where
Yeah.
she becomes the I am Phoenix all of a sudden,
Yeah.
and
Just like that, the way Sam delivered it, that was like,
it was just like that. It was like she's dead, and then you're like, oh no, she's not. She is
Yeah.
Phoenix.
She catches Bastion monologuing on the beach.
Well, before that, she manages to get Cable's mind back, I believe, and basically turn Sinister into like this
right.
into this wrinkled old man or some shit like that, right?
You're an hour
She
in.
takes out
it's all right,
again.
it's
There's like 20, 30
Oh,
minutes.
right,
for it to
right,
be
right,
cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, she takes away the DNA that Sinestro has been using to keep
Sinestro.
Sinestro.
Again, that is
that the
DC
Mexican version?
Green Lantern
Sinestro?
villain. No, you are thinking of Mark Strong in the Green Lantern movie.
No,
this
that's the
guy.
Mexican Sinister. Es Sinestro. Sinestro. Yo soy Sinestro.
Why are you singing all Italian?
Yo te voy a quitar. Oh, it's the Italian version.
Sinister.
It's not the Mexican.
It's a me, a Sinestro.
Yo, Sinestro. Yo soy Sinestro. Te voy a quitar todo tu mutations.
Yeah, this is good. Keep it going.
Hereby apologize to all Hispanic and Italian audiences.
No, this is
No,
they're enjoying this, right? Italian fans? Yeah, we have many Italian fans.
They're
you know.
fine. Yeah, they're fine. Listen,
So what?
Sinister gets all his DNA. Sinister gets all his DNA
Sinestro.
taken out of him by Jean Grey, the Phoenix, and it leaves him this withered old man. And he goes up to what's his name? Fucking Morph.
Yes.
Like, well, what do I look like? And
Oh, and
fucking
Morph
he
turns
turns
into
into
him.
him.
That's
Like,
right.
That looks the same to me. And he's like, no. And he goes running away. His hands in the air. No, don't
Yeah.
look at me.
It was
Don't
very
look
much.
at me.
Yeah, it was very much like that Kramer.
Don't
went
look
after
at
his-
me.
No,
I'm
look
ugly.
at-
I'm ugly. I'm hideous.
Hideous.
That's exactly what happens. And he goes running away. And eventually, that's how.
Now, how does Bastion go down, Ublester? If you could tell us.
Again, Jean Grey as the Phoenix creates this like Green Lantern-like talon of a Phoenix and grabs Bastion as he's trying to fly away, and he's like, "No, you don't." And I think she's like, he's trying to struggle, or he's still like talking about how strong he is, and then I think she eventually just squeezes him into a bloody pulp, and it shows like his eyeballs exploding, and his skull bursting out of his. No.
Is that true, Noel?
No.
No, I'm thinking, you know what?
Thank you. I was wondering how long we're gonna let that run
Invincible.
for. I was like,
It was close to
did
that,
we
though.
watch the same show?
It was close to that.
Well, want to take it away?
The rock that Magneto created blows up while Bastion is trying to reach like the core
Why is he trying to reach the core?
because he's trying to he's trying to make the comet hit the Earth.
Yep. Okay. Now I remember. That was off. I was off. All right,
At
that's on
some
me.
point, we also get Roberto da Costa
That's
become
on me.
officially Sunspot
Yeah, see, his
during
whole
the events
storyline.
of all these.
His whole storyline was we didn't really focus on, which I get it, but
It was
It
cool
wasn't that
having.
interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, it was cool having a Latino character though at the forefront.
Yeah.
We did a Latino character. His name was Sinestro.
You're right. I forgot about Sinestro. Silly me. Yes.
Oh my
right.
god.
But okay, so please, just to wrap this up for the last person
Yes,
watching sake,
let's wrap it up.
let's wrap it up.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for still being
Oh
here.
my
man.
god.
So
Anybody know what?
Florian and Maya and Bernie are still here.
Magneto, and Charles Xavier go at it in a Super Saiyan like mind battle, right?
Yes, yes.
And
well,
they-
he's trying to save his
yeah.
mind, right?
Yeah.
How the
A couple
fuck
of things are
does he
happening
do this?
because we also get Cyclops and Jean talk to Cable from the future.
That's right. That's right.
Jesus.
Yes.
They
yes.
get teleported into different times.
That's the very. I was
That's
gonna
at the
save
end.
that till the very end.
So
yeah, I was
we're
gonna
getting
save
there.
that.
We're getting there.
Forge
Almost there.
and
Storm.
fuck, what's his name?
Bishop.
Forge and Bishop, and the talking in front of the poster of who's missing. Who's
And-
The
and
Days of
world,
Future Past
Off
poster.
world,
Mhm.
presumed dead. Off world, AWOT.
It's
Yeah.
Cable.
Yes.
So that allows for lots of Easter eggs too within different characters that we could potentially see in season 2. We have Shadowcat, we have Dust, Exodus, Colossus,
Magic.
Havoc.
How does fucking Magneto come back? Magneto and Xavier come back.
Yeah, because they fix it.
I think
Yeah,
in
they
his mind.
resolve. Magneto
Yeah.
finally like gives in.
Charles eventually is able to convince him within his own mind
Yeah.
that, like, you know, we got to save the earth and the people, and what you're doing is killing everyone, and et cetera, et cetera. And Magnus is all like, oh my God, what have I done? Take me out of this fucking hypnotism. And they come out and he fixes things. But I think something, what is it that causes the whole time this?
They never mention it.
It's just, I think
The fucking thing explodes.
It explodes.
yeah. it explodes.
The Magneto's fucking asteroid explodes, and then they all just end
The
up
next
going
scene
into.
is then,
That's
some
how
other
intense
into
the
different-
explosion is, that the team was sent through different
Yeah, it broke through the
timelines.
time-space
Yes.
continuum.
Yes, it did. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah.
Thank you for using logic. I appreciate it.
You-
And we
I don't
end up
have
in
any
different
logic.
places, and that allows for like this epic thing of like, oh my God, where's season 2 going to go?
Yeah.
Because this whole
An
show
apocalypse,
has
obviously.
done really good with the cliffhangers, and we get 2 separate apocalypse
Yes.
cliffhangers. 3?
Yeah.
No, sorry, no, 2.
Two.
I was thinking of the Ascani tribe, but that's Cable. We have 2 separate continuities with the apocalypse. One, we see him young. We see En Sabanur, who is just a gray-skinned mutant before he becomes who Apocalypse is,
Right there.
before he comes across the
That's him.
technology of Ramatut, a.k.a. Kang the Conqueror.
Oh.
For all you comic book fans out there. So the fact that we get to see this version of him and how that plays into everything is really exciting to me as a fan on multiple levels.
Very
And then we also get to see this future this present. We see a future, of Cyclops and Jean with the Ascani tribe, which leads into Cyclops, and more of that later,
One eye.
and where that
Damn,
can
that looks
possibly
awesome.
lead. But then the biggest one, I feel that the one that's been talked about the most is the fact that we get Apocalypse in present time, talking about bringing things back and this and that, whatever. And he finds the Queen of Hearts in the rubble.
What does that mean?
The Queen of Hearts, a card that belonged to none other than Gambit, as you can see here on the screen. So the most popular horseman of death in the comic books, yes, is Archangel. Wolverine was once too. But who else has been the horseman of death in the comic books? Noel, our producer. If you would please type that in and bring it to the forefront.
Captain
Gambito.
'Cause
America.
I don't think Ubla knows, literally at this point.
Es Gambito.
Gambito.
Put it up. There it is. There it is. There it is. Gambit.
Oh.
Horseman of death.
So he's gonna come back as a horseman of death. of
Yes,
some
he is.
sorts.
And I'm so like literally when this happened,
Yeah.
dude. So this was a post-credit scene in the show. I fucking leapt out of the fucking couch. I fucking leapt. Maya was like throwing away popcorn or something, and I fucking jumped and screamed and possibly woke up my child. I can't remember, because I was so fucking excited of where this can go in so many fucking levels. Again, I cannot speak to the testament of how crazy this show has been and how faithful it's been to the comic book storylines, and now I was gonna bring it to it. And just having this bigger conversation of like, oh my God, this is so crazy. Fuck yeah, it is. That's how the comics are. Fuck. Like, and it's like, fuck. It's like you're aware now of how fucking crazy the comics are. Like it's just so fucking exciting. And I love this show. And I'm gonna stop right here because it's already too much.
All right.
Are you sure you don't want to keep a?
No.
Are we gonna grade this thing? Any other comments before we grade this thing?
I mean, a lot of the time was. Go for it.
Oh, the very last thing before we wrap up, I really wanted to say like the whole thing with Wolverine being like almost like out of commission for this whole episode.
I'm sure everybody comes back.
He
in
does,
this
but what do we
fucking,
see
in this
that's very
fucking show.
important to Wolverine and Morph's journey? Clearly, Morph is in love with Wolverine.
Yeah.
And he literally shifts into Jean and tells him, I love you, Logan. Please keep healing. Hang in there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it hurts.
Does this mean that Wolverine no longer has an adamantium
He does
claws?
not. And that's
He's
happened.
gonna be his
Yeah,
like.
his bones.
We even
Which
saw
There's
no.
consequences for that.
There is. In the comics, he goes more feral. In the movies, he's just equally as buff, just with bone claws. So we'll see exactly what happens within the TV show version.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping. Last thing is, I was expecting to see at least some, maybe like a Easter egg or hint that the effects of this show would end up in like the Daredevil Wolverine movie, because I thought they would do that.
There's a Daredevil Wolverine
Daredevil
movie.
Wolverine?
Holy
Sorry.
shit!
Does that
Deadpool.
also star
Yeah.
Sinestro? Sinestro. That is my
Deadpool.
new
God
favorite
damn it.
fucking villain of all time.
It's
Sinestro.
the same as Sinister, but he talks with that.
I am here to take all of your DNA. I'm going to make a new mutant so can clone you, and I am Sinestro.
He shows
Bow
up in the
before my evil.
He shows up in a
Sinestro.
little mini, like one of those mini cars. What do you
Yes.
call
A
it?
Fiat?
Yeah.
A Vespa? Did you mean a Vespa original?
Or a Vespa, or a boy, a little
With Luca?
with Luca in the back. No,
Maestro
I was
Sinestro.
expecting
Sorry.
to see something where like maybe the Wolverine of this cartoon series got displaced.
Became
and he would
Hugh
show up-
Jackman?
He would show up in the Deadpool Wolverine movie. And I was like,
possible.
oh, that's cool. They're connecting all of these universes.
We'll see.
But
There was a lot of
honestly, no,
popular
I wasn't
fan
gonna see
theories
that.
that this somehow was connected to the MCU. Because we have so many live action actors that are coming back. Professor X came back
Yeah.
as his as
Right, and then the
he,
Beast-
he was in the hover
Beast
chair
in
He
his
was,
lab coat.
Yes, well, he
yeah.
was in the Marvel. So we're getting
Marvels.
all these like versions, and then Wolverine,
Wolverine.
donning the yellow costume, and
Yeah.
Deadpool, and like all the live
It's
action
getting
actors
closer
are
and
still
closer,
there.
man.
Yeah,
Iron Man.
Iron Man?
No, sorry, not
Did
Iron
you
Man.
say
No, no.
Iron Man?
No, I meant to say Iron Man, but what I really meant to say was Colossus. I'm just saying it's getting closer and
man
closer.
made out of steel.
Yes.
slash iron.
Russian.
so you thought,
and
yeah.
man,
Organic
you,
metal steel.
Colossus. I'm just saying
Piotr
it's
Nikolaevich.
getting closer and
That's
closer
Lucan.
to that, where we're seeing all of these live action superheroes, these comic book superheroes and the cartoon superheroes come to live action.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
what I wanted to say.
all right, fine.
All right.
All right,
Final
let's
thoughts.
let's fucking end this now. It's been a while, so you want to grade this
So
fucking
remember how we thought
season?
this episode wouldn't be anywhere near as long as the first
No.
half?
Nope.
It wasn't
I
even
already
supposed to
knew it was gonna
be,
this long.
fucking 2 parts, 3.5
Yeah.
parts, or whatever it's been.
Yep.
So
Overall, I give this shit an A-.
Nice.
It was. I mean, it was what it intended it to be. It was nostalgia. It
Yeah.
served. It was fan service. It touched on everything that I wanted to touch on. The cameos, the dialogue was much better than what I remember this cartoon being, and it just made me fucking feel nice. So I was willing to let go of a lot of small nitpicks that I had. So for that, I give it an A-.
Yeah.
Case closed.
I am
80%.
going to give it. Fuck, I'm between like a B or a B plus. I know everybody fucking loves this show. I've
For
seen
good reason.
I've seen the reviews. It's highly acclaimed.
I said A-.
Yeah, that's still on the high end.
Strong like.
I told you guys, there's just many times where I felt the story was asking so much of me to just accept certain things, and I just couldn't. I didn't
Well,
like
it
the
wasn't
whole.
a movie, Sam. Remember,
It still has certain things that you have to abide by, or
it is based on
the-
comic books.
I get it, and that's my whole issue with comic book stories. Sometimes that people come back from the dead without explanation. There's no stakes. I mean, even when Gambit dies, it's a
he
great.
did die.
Yeah, but you
He
start.
died.
But again, in the comic book world, anybody can come back for any reason.
Well, he's
and
only
then,
coming back because of Apocalypse.
Yeah,
He didn't. He's not doing that on his own.
and
Doesn't
then
prove
when
him
the
wrong,
last
doesn't prove
the
someone
last
wrong.
scene with the Apocalypse showing the car, to me it wasn't like, oh, I know for you. It was like, yes, but to me it was more like they're gonna bring him back somehow because
Yeah.
you can't just kill anybody off in the comic book world, and so it
you
never
have to
feels.
Uncle Ben died.
Yeah, again,
He
a minor
stayed
character.
dead. A minor character. He's what catapulted Spider-Man and everything.
Yeah, it's like
With
Bruce
great
Wayne's
powers
parents.
brings great
Yes.
responsibilities.
It's like
Wayne's
Bruce
parents.
Wayne's parents is the same thing.
Yeah.
They're just
They
meant to be
also
a
died.
catalyst for the main character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, all these different things.
Those
So,
are fixed points.
I'll have you
I-
know, Uncle
I
Ben is
will-
the main character in Adam Webb.
I will say
that masterpiece.
I will say I did enjoy the updated animation. I did enjoy the fact that it was a bit more adult. That
Yes,
it got
a bit.
darker.
Way more.
Yeah, way more adult. Yeah. Even though I think the original series was
Still, but not kid appropriate.
it was kid appropriate, but not in the same way that you would imagine a kid appropriate cartoon would be. And so,
That makes sense.
anyways, I did not like all that, and I did like some of the storylines, and I did like the action and everything. So,
I'm gonna end up with a B plus just
Nice.
because that's my final
Thank you,
grade.
Sam.
B plus.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Here comes-
With this show, man. So X-Men has been one of the biggest things of my youth. As everyone has picked up on, I happen to be a comic book reader. I happen to be a fan of superheroes, of Marvel comics, of this world as a bigger whole. And I've always been into everything. But X-Men holds a special place in my heart for so many multiple reasons. And bringing this back and having it meant so much to me back then and throughout my youth and teenage years and early adulthood into now. 35 years old now, guys.
You're an old fart.
I know. Still the youngest member here, but still. This just reinforced my love for everything that has to do with the X-Men. I have my criticisms, not just nitpicks.
Yeah.
I have my criticisms of the show, especially episode 4. I hate Mojo. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a bad episode.
I love Jubilee's story arc. I just hate Mojo. Anywho,
Then,
but as a
yeah.
whole, with this show, what it did to bring back these characters and bringing back so many of the voice actors, and what it meant to put the X-Men back up there where it should be, and just holding this new bar and this new standard of what these things should be. Incredibly well done. Animation, fucking excellent. Characters coming back. Yes, this show gets and deserves an A in my book.
All right. Punch it into your app generator thing.
Oh, that's right. Yes, give it
You
a
have an
grade.
A minus and a B plus. I believe that's an A minus.
Let's see.
It's an
here.
A minus.
That's
We'll
what
go over
you
the
didn't even
grade
finish.
calculator app.
A minus is what I was gonna say.
All right. Yeah.
Sam,
I don't-
Uble, you give it an A.
I don't think we need to put
Sorry,
it.
Yeah,
A
we
minus.
don't need-
Was it an A minus or
A minus.
A minus.
Yes.
It's an A minus.
It's an A minus.
Calculate.
A minus, B plus.
A minus is the average
There
grade.
you go. I'm
Woo.
glad the phone confirmed it.
All right. Thank
Where
you,
would
phone.
we be without
All
you,
right.
technology?
Well, thank you for
It's
watching
been fun
this
mincing this
2-part
series
Yes, it has
craziness.
all in one night, you guys. I'm
Yeah,
proud
we
of you
just
guys.
we did this all in one
We
night.
got one straight take, no cuts, no
Clearly.
edits.
Yes.
Just
yes.
the magic of cinema.
been. And a wardrobe change for no apparent reason. And we've all
No,
aged
it's
for
CGI.
2 weeks for no reason.
That's the thing, is that a lot of viewers think that we actually change clothes. It's CGI.
It's CGI. This
We're
is
still
not,
wearing the same clothes. Our producers.
I'm actually naked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
So-
all right, with that, please like and subscribe, and
Give us the-
do all the
Thank
things
you for watching
do.
and listening. What did
Yeah.
you think of the X-Men series?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes,
that
see,
fun
you can
stuff.
help me with all these things.
Yeah.
And as always,
I'm a Dark Knight.
Have a next night.